Welcome back to You Talk Sports. Tonight we've got a super exciting NBA game of the night. It is the Chicago Bulls versus the Cleveland Cavs, an old school rivalry with one of the hottest teams, the Cleveland Cavs. I'm going to be opening up the Zoom room now and letting in our sports fans. If you'd like to join us up on Zoom, the link to join us in Zoom is in the YouTube description here. I'm excited to see some familiar faces as well as some new people that are joining us here today. This again is You Talk Sports, and my name is Greg Wells, the host and founder. And tonight's featured game is the Cavaliers versus the Chicago Bulls. The Cavs have been very hot with their run in the NBA. We're going to be breaking down why that is and breaking down what's wrong with the Chicago Bulls, because on paper, their roster seems to be pretty solid. I'm kind of curious how these teams got to be the way they are, and we'll be diving into that. We'll also be taking takes on the Super Bowl. If you're watching us in the live stream and you have a take on the Super Bowl or on this game, we'd love to have you up here on Zoom with us. The link to the Zoom is there in the YouTube channel. I'm going to put the YouTube link into the chat here for everyone. And if everyone could go over and just pull it up in another browser tab, and make sure to leave us a comment. Everyone who's here on Zoom, if you could leave us a comment on the YouTube channel as well, so that we know you're there and so that we can have some engagement on the channel. This game tips off in 30 minutes. So we're going to be talking pregame here with our takes on what's expected to happen in this game here today. I'm excited for this game. I've been wanting to see the Cavs since they've been surging. I don't really start watching football until I don't really start watching NBA rather until football season ends. I'm just getting that link for you guys now. I'm going to put it into the Zoom chat here. And I saw David already had put in a post there about the spread. And we want to make sure we're getting everyone into the Zoom room here today. As always, the focus of our channel is bringing together sports fans to learn about how sports has paid off for us in business. And we are coming together in community to watch the games together. That's the first part of our mission. And as we're watching the games, we're learning about business. We're learning about life skills. That's a lot of what we are coming together to do. So, if you just want to be entertained watching the game, we are going to have the game cast on the main screen here today. That's for you in the YouTube chat. If you want to participate in the conversation, be a part of our community, if you're camera ready, we'd welcome to have you up here on Zoom. So with that as our introduction, I want to say hi to a business friend of mine, Sumi Houston, who is here today. Sumi and I know each other from the online marketing world, the coaching world. And I asked her to be a guest here tonight to kind of tell us about her story. And I would love to hear everyone here's a story about the sports that you played and what you feel are the most valuable lessons that you've learned in business and in life from playing sports. Because I believe that playing sports is the number one thing that's made me successful in life and in business. It's the very things I learned in sports. And a lot of times I feel like we tend to think that you need a certain education, or you need a certain money, or you need experience to succeed in business. And I'll tell you, you don't need those things. Everything that you learn in sports is everything it takes to make someone successful. And that's why I always look to hire people that have played sports. And we are having auditions and interviews for team members here. So if you're watching this, or if you're here today and you're interested in joining us on the team, we'd love to have you participate in the show here today. So, Sumi, let me have you give everyone a quick introduction as to what you are up to and focused on currently now in business, and what sports you played. And then I'd love to dive into how sports has paid off for you in life and business. Well, you're on mute still.
There we go. Okay. Hi. So, thanks for inviting me, Greg. And what I'm focused on is really helping people connect to their truth, like really empowering them, and so that they, as a coach, so they have the resources within themselves to move forward. You know, as coaches, we can only show them so much, but I want them to really go, this is me, without fear, and put it out in the world. So that's what I'm focusing on. And of course, I'm always working on myself as well. You know, how can I be better? How can I be a better person? What's this challenge about? Things like that. So, in terms of sports, I started out as a professional ballet dancer in my teens, which is, it's in the arts, it's in the entertainment, but you're definitely an athlete and you're training really as to the extreme. And from there, I actually went on to train horses. So, training other athletes, the horses and the riders, and of course myself. So, yeah. So, do you want me to go into what I learned, or
Yeah,
questions?
and I find, it's fascinating to hear from all different types of sports. And I think we're going to find that a lot of the same things, the commitment, the dedication that have paid off in ballet and in equestrian sports. It's so interesting to hear about those sports. And a quick note, my very first job back when I was in high school was mucking out the stalls at a stable. I had this curiosity about horses as a high school kid. I'll be honest, there was a pretty girl at my school I wanted to meet who rode horses, and we didn't have a horse or anything, but I'm like, well, maybe I could go down there and get a job. So I had some experience getting to exercise the horses. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, so what I would love to hear is what are the things that growing up in those sports instilled in you that have paid off for you in business and in life?
So I mean, one is absolutely drive and discipline. You know, you have to have a passion for what you're going after, and if you don't, you're going to have iffy results. So you need to be passionate about, this is where I want to go, and that's it. Basically, single focused, and so the discipline to follow through. And for me, I think probably the most valuable lesson I learned, two of them, but one of the most valuable was commitment to excellence. You have to be committed to excellence no matter what you do. And that I've carried into life. And even in terms of when I'm interviewing with a potential client, if they aren't committed to what they want to do, I don't really want to work with them. I feel like there's someone else that can do that. I want to really go for it in life and live fully. And that's what I learned between the horses and the ballet, because you're going to lose, you're going to fail, it's going to come up, you're going to have challenges, and the only way to get through it is to persevere and have the discipline and acknowledge, okay, that didn't work out, and without judgment, how can I fix it? And I guess the other lesson was, I completely removed "I can't" from my vocabulary. That is just in the ballet, in the horses, that is not an option. You have to get it done. And so the question is, how can I do it? So when you come up to a challenge, you may not figure it out the first, second, or third time, but you keep going back to, how can I fix this? How can I move through this challenge? So there's kind of takeaways that I've learned and carried through my life that have been really beneficial for me.
Yeah, I love hearing that. And that's very similar to what we've heard in a lot of sports, that it's about commitment, about focus. And I once heard Michael Jordan say, the best way to master a sport is to love the sport. Just go play it and love it. And that was one of the things you opened with as well. What about as a now? Where does sports fit into your life now? Do you still follow ballet or equestrian? What's it like being a fan of sports for you?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm a doer, not a watcher. I just There's doers and there's watchers, and so I do keep in contact with a lot of horse friends, and I follow their careers because that's always fun. In fact, one of my earlier students went on to be longlisted for the Olympics about 6, 8 years ago. So that was really cool. And in the ballet, I have plenty of friends in the ballet. So every once in a while, I'll check that out, or someone will send me a video of it. So I do follow it, but not ardently. Like I want to see what's going on in life. So it's a part of my life, but it's not a big part. And I'm always fascinated. I'm more fascinated by what makes this successful person excel at what they do. And so there's years why I don't watch football, and then there's years I go, wow. Like to me, I was, watching the Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes, to me, I've watched him through the season, and I'm impressed with him as a person and as an athlete. So that's more what I watch, is the human character and how they develop and apply it to their sport, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I always feel like greatness always appreciates greatness and can appreciate it in all forms. I think about that when I'm exposed to a new form of music. Like if this person's the best
Mhm.
at this sport or this music, I can appreciate them for that. So
Yeah.
I love hearing that, you share that perspective and that you got to enjoy the Super Bowl as well. Well, awesome. We really appreciate you being here to give us your perspective on things. You help people tap into their passion and build a business around their passion, right?
Yes.
Where can people get more info? Do you have a website or
Oh, my website, my website is being updated, but it's sumihouston.com. And
sumihouston.com?
Sumi Houston, Houston, Texas.
Yep.
And what I always do is I always offer a complimentary call, because people can find out how I work, and then we can also explore if we're a match, because not every person is a match for another person. So I always like to talk to someone and get to know them, and have them get to know me. And they may say, nah, this is not what I want. Or I can say, you know what, I think there's somebody better. And I can recommend people that I know that might be a better fit for them. So, and that's, again, it's just a complimentary call and just an exploratory kind of thing.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thanks so much for your time and coming on live tonight and giving us your
Welcome.
insight from some different sports. Every night, I'm trying to bring in some different people that have been successful in business and been through different sports so that all of us can see that sports is a big part of what makes success in life and in business.
Yeah,
Thanks so much again for being here, Sumi. I hope you can stick around. And if you have any insights
sure.
on the Super Bowl, chime in.
Sure.
We have an amazing game coming up tonight at 7:30 p.m. is Chicago versus the Cavs. And the Cavs, if you haven't been following them, are really surging. We're going to be tuning into that at 7:30 p.m. as well as getting Super Bowl takes and takes on that game throughout today. Before we do that, I want to bring up our next guest business speaker. I'm trying to have one or two business speakers on each night. And Natasha Moreno, I'm excited to introduce you guys to. Natasha and I actually collaborated on a book deal together. She's an expert in health and wellness and fitness, and has helped a lot of people be at their desired weight. And I'm kind of stealing your thunder here. She's also played sports and is bringing some perspectives from sports into what she does. So Natasha, go ahead and in your own words, tell everyone what you do and what sports you played growing up.
So I'm a former volleyball player, girls basketball and girls softball. And I was MVP 2 years in a row for shortstop and girls softball. So those are the sports that I used to play. And so now I'm a different type of athlete. Now I'm a bodybuilder, and I actually won a competition in December out of 3,000 contestants. So I'm working my way to a stage, which you had no idea that I was actually doing that now.
No, that's so exciting. Yeah. That's part of what I love doing these interviews is just getting to know more and more of people that are in our community and in our ecosystem. So, being in softball and volleyball, what do you feel are the main things you learned from that have paid off for you now as a successful coach?
So the first thing that popped into my head when you first asked that question was that winning is just as important as losing, right? Losing and winning, they're just as important because when, as a winner, then you can pick all the things that have been successful that has made you win and allowed you to be able to receive that trophy and do more of that and really focus on doing more of that. And then the losing part is just as important because you actually get a chance to grow and see the things that you need to change and do less of so that you can now turn things around. So I've always looked at things that didn't go well that I've tried in my business or things that might have not looked good for my business as that moment to actually learn and grow. And so not as a failure per se. So failures in my business are okay, right? I'd rather try and be imperfect, right, than to not have tried at all. So that's the real big one for me.
Mm. Yeah, and that's a big part of sports. When you think about when you're practicing sports, volleyball or basketball or whatever it might be, you probably took a million shots on your own that didn't go in, but you just keep trying and you enjoy that practice and learning and getting better. And that's one of the same principles that pays off in business. So it's interesting to hear you sharing that. And I think that's validating for our audience that maybe is thinking, oh, I don't know if I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, to succeed in business. If you've done these same things, if you've tried and failed and gotten back up, like Natasha's talking about, that's a big part of what makes success in business. What about coaches that you had? Who was the most impactful coach that you had, and like what did you specifically learn from them, and how did they teach you?
So, my most prominent coach was Mrs. Shapiro, and she was actually my basketball coach and my softball coach. So, she was a really huge, big part of my life. And I think what she really taught, first, I noticed that no matter what happened during a game or during practice, I never saw her lose her cool. Right. She was always really like stable. And I think the second one is that what I noticed about her was she didn't just teach you the position that you were going to be focusing on. She actually taught us how to back each other up. Like, for instance, in baseball, me being a shortstop, I'm in between second and third base. And so my focus at, any moment was to back up the second baseman. And then the left outfielder would back up third baseman. So I knew that all the bases were covered and I had that stability. And I think that that's another thing that I took into the rest of my life was, as a team, we have to have each other's back. And so I look at my clients as part of a team, and I always make sure that they feel that stability as well. So I'm going to say Mrs. Shapiro because she's the one who, was always just calm and stable. And at the same time, she made us feel like, this is your job. And like I never saw her lose her cool.
Mm. Yeah, I love hearing that from your coach about, putting the team first. And I honestly never thought about that, like looking at your clientele and customers as your team as well. So that's a really interesting perspective. I know when I look to hire employees, I always look for people that can put the team first, but you're so right to point out it's the same attitude and values when it comes to customers. Now, it's interesting that you were an athlete and now you've gone into health and fitness coaching. And I think that's another thing that's very underrated about those of us that played sports is we likely learned a lot about how to be healthy, how to optimize our bodies. How does being healthy and energetic, how does that pay off in business for your clientele?
Well, I first want to be transparent and make sure that everyone understands that I wasn't always healthy. I was actually so overweight, so morbidly obese that my weight was crushing my spine and I was bedridden for over a year. So I wasn't always healthy in my life. And it was when I overcame that is when I decided I needed to focus on my health and I decided to actually start this business. So To answer your question about how does, being healthy really help my business? Well, I focus on people who had weight loss surgery, and the issue is that what got you there is a lot of times the emotional eating and not really handling feelings very well. And so it's a very emotional and mental kind of health issues that we in my community goes through, but it shows in our physical health, right? So it's directly related. When your mental health is not healthy, then it winds up we wind up overeating and things like that. And so how does being an athlete actually help? Well, it really turned things around for me, because when I did start to walk, even though doctors told me that I was never going to walk again and I was going to be wheelchair bound for the rest of my life, when I did start to walk, I decided that I'm an athlete. And I know that there was a missing piece to having the health that I needed to continue to have. And being an athlete, like, you never give up. Like, you don't stop playing the game until the game is over. And so
Mhm.
at that point, I realized I'm still alive. I may not be living the life that I really wanted to live, but I'm alive. The game is not over. And
Mhm.
so that, I think, is what really where the athlete came in. And so when I started to get weights involved, I started with 3 pounds, I started with 5 pounds, and now I'm leg pressing 277 pounds, right? So, sometimes you got to start small, but the athlete in you and being in sports, like, you don't stop until it's done.
Mhm.
And that's the mantra that I've always had. Like, it's not over. I'm going full force. I'm playing hard, right? And
Mhm.
so that's how I think about life.
I love that mindset. I can see that totally coming from sports and how that's paid off for you in life. And I love that, you went on this journey to lose weight and to get back to the athletic self you used to be. And now you're guiding and helping other people to do this. That's what a health coach does, or a life coach does, if you're watching this and you're not that familiar with coaching. And if you played sports, you likely know a lot of the fundamentals. You likely know a lot about being healthy. And I want you to realize, like, that's not stuff everyone in the world knows. In fact, I one time I went to this networking event. It was a mastermind for 8-figure CEOs. So these guys were doing $10 million a year and up. And I was super excited to get invited to go. And I wanted to, like, learn all their secrets, right? And literally the whole morning of the day, they talked about sleep habits. They talked about different, like, supplements they were taking. And when we went to lunch, I remember asking my friend who invited me, I'm like, when are we going to get to the good stuff? Like, all they're talking about is, like, peak performance. And he turned to me and said, like, Greg, that's how you go from 7 figures to 8 figures. It's all peak performance. It's all getting yourself to do more as a leader in your business. And it really was wow, because I was like, oh, I got to learn some new business secret, but it was about getting myself to do more. And so if you already have some healthy habits, or even if you're not current in them, like Natasha said, like, she didn't, after her health day, she had put on weight, but the things you need to do, and that's stuff that not everyone knows, and that's part of what gives you a competitive advantage.
Yeah,
um
one of the things that really struck hard for me when I decided that I wanted to go on stage, because you can imagine when I first started lifting 3 pounds, I wasn't thinking I'm going to go on stage and be in a competition. Was, who do I need to become
mm,
to be able to do that? Like, the people who do that, the Michael Jordans, they don't stop practicing, right? The Arnold Schwarzeneggers, they don't stop lifting. He's in the gym 6 hours a day when he was Mr. Olympian. And so I had to really trigger that thinking of, who do I need to become? So I started waking up 3 hours early in the day, so I had the time to be able to exercise and the energy to be able to exercise. So sometimes you really need to think about, what do you need to do? Who do you need to become? And just kind of envision that person. So when I'm flexing in the mirrors at the gym, I'm literally thinking of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I love that. Yeah, who do I need to become? That's a writer downer. Natasha, I love getting your perspective on things. Thanks so much for taking out some time from your busy schedule to pop in
My
and share some
pleasure.
insights with us. We're a group. This is a new project and business that I've kicked off where we're coming together to watch sports every night. Our mission is that no one should be home alone watching the game. If they want to be in the conversation, we're here every night to talk about basketball or football. We're just building a community of people that want to connect around sports. And as we're enjoying and entertaining ourselves, we want to learn a little. We want to better ourselves. So it's so great that we could hear from you as well as Sumi today. Is if anyone wants more info or is interested in learning more about health coaching, where can they get more info or get your book?
So the book is on Amazon. Greg, you know how to get the book. And you can find me on Facebook, Natasha Morano Coaching. The name on Zoom is accurate, and then there's the word coaching right afterwards. So that's probably the easiest and the best way to find me. You can send me a message and ask me anything.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here today. I hope you
Thank you
can
for
hang
having me.
around and maybe give us some insights on basketball and tonight's game. Um, so tonight's game is just about to kick off in 4 minutes. It is the Chicago Bulls and the Cleveland Cavs. We're going to be taking takes on this. And I want to make sure everyone is joined us on YouTube and has left us a comment on YouTube. And we're going to use that to determine who we're going to start with for takes here today. I saw David had left a comment on there. And so we're going to start with David for his take on tonight's game. Also love to get takes on the Super Bowl from Eddie and Rain. And I think we've heard from Matt and Cameron already on the Super Bowl. I'm curious to hear about the 49ers firing their defensive coach. We're going to talk about that today. I feel like they're scapegoating him. And we're going to have a lot of fun watching the game. We're going to be pulling the game cast up here as the main screen. So that'll be kind of on so we can be following the game and watching it here. If you see me looking to my left, that's me. I got the game on here. And so every night we're kind of centering our community around whatever the game of the night is. When it's football season, it'll be Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football. Right now, NBA season's in its peak. So whatever the main game that's on TV, TNT or ESPN, that's the main game that we'll be talking about here. That we'll be taking takes on. And if you're watching us on YouTube, we'd love to have you join us here on Zoom. Come on up on Zoom. The link for the Zoom is there in the YouTube comments. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're here together every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, building this community. We just kicked it off on Monday. I'm excited about the start that we're off to and excited to get everyone's input on this game. David, what do you like to look for in tonight's game between the Cavs and the Bulls?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I wish I could say that I'm going for the. I wish I could say I think the Bulls would win. I'm definitely pulling for them. Uh, I make it very clear I'm from Houston, so I've got beef with Cleveland right now with the whole Deshaun Watson thing that we went through over these last few years. But I mean, Cleveland's what, number 2 in the East right now. They've been nasty. They've been slowly progressing these last 3 years with Garland, Mobley. The trade for Spider Mitchell that was a nasty trade, and I think they're a team that'll potentially get to the conference finals. It'll be between them and Milwaukee fighting Boston. So I think I'm gonna go with unfortunately I'm gonna have to go with Cleveland tonight, and the spread was 9.5. I'm curious to know what y'all think. I would take Cleveland by 9.5 to win tonight.
Awesome. Yeah. To me, that sounds really high. I don't get why Chicago's so bad. Like I look at them on paper and obviously they have some injuries, but they just seem to be playing terrible. And on the flip side, Cleveland seems to be on fire these days. They've really kind of built a team. Um, awesome. Well, I appreciate your take. We're going to come back around. Let's go next to Cameron. What are you looking for in tonight's game, Cameron? Oh, you're on mute there.
All right. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so my take on this game is I'm interested to see Mobley is coming back in the lineup. He's been injured on this Cavaliers run. The Cavaliers, I believe, are 14-1 over their last 15 games. And the reason why they're able to win this many games is because of perimeter shooting out of their forwards and Dean Wade. Dean Wade he offers a perimeter threat. He brings a better perimeter defense. And so the Cavs have realized that they can run one point guard and one center with Mitchell and Allen, shooters surrounded by them. So I'm curious tonight to see when Mobley, I think he's one of their best players. He's a defensive player of the year candidate. He protects the rim. His perimeter game is getting better. He reminds me a lot of people try to compare him to Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett, but he reminds me a lot of Chris Bosh when Chris Bosh was coming to the NBA. So I'm curious to see how the Cavaliers will utilize their two big men, and I love the way they play defense too. I believe they're rated number 2 in the league in defense. And over this past month, they've been rated number 1 in defensive efficiency. And Donovan Mitchell also took home Player of the Month in January. Mitchell's absolutely balling with this team. He's figuring out the lineups. I love the role players they have. They are very deep with Max Strus. He impressed me in the finals last year with the Heat. Sam Merrill, last pick of the draft. If you give him any space to shoot, he'll let it fly, and it goes in about 58% of the time. When you're watching this game tonight, too, just notice every time a Bulls ball handler will attack the paint, they are always sending weak side help. They're switching on defense every time. So I love the defense on this team, and I'm curious to see how he's going to utilize the bigs with Mobley back in the lineup. And then the Bulls, they're a very good roster as well. I think really what they need is they got to get Lonzo Ball back. He's been out for a couple seasons now with a knee injury. Let's not forget in the 2017 draft, he was one of the top prospects in that draft. He was drafted number 2 behind Markelle Fultz. But I don't think him and Fultz have really lived up to their expectations. I think the stars of that draft have been Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, and a guy playing in this game tonight, Donovan Mitchell. So I'm in the Bulls. When they did have Lonzo Ball in the lineup, let's not forget, just a couple years ago, they were number 1 in the East. They have a very good roster. I like DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. They got Biggs and Drummond and Magic All-Star Vucevic. So they have a good roster. I believe when they're healthy, they can compete pretty good. But the Cavs defense, that's going to come very clutch in the playoffs.
Nice. I love the breakdown on the Cavs there, really in depth. He covered all their players and gave us some really insights. It's really helping me catch up on where they're at. As I mentioned, basketball is my primary sport, but I don't really start tuning in until football starts winding down. So I'm always like a year behind at this time of year. And the Bulls, to me, I'm like, what, they look good on paper, man. They have like 4 starters that, are household names or all-stars, and I don't know why they're not better. I wouldn't be banking on Lonzo Ball at all to come back and do anything. I don't think he was doing much even before he got hurt. And he hasn't played in a couple of years now. But yeah, Vucevic, he was awesome when he was in Orlando. He had them in the playoffs. And when they traded for him, I thought Chicago was going to be a regular playoff team. So I'm curious to see like why they're doing so bad here tonight. Awesome. All right, let's continue. Let's go next to Matt. Great to see you here, Matt. Again, I hope everyone has commented over on our YouTube and is watching this. Pull it up in another browser and pull up the YouTube spot there as well. I think I kind of let everyone know here on kind of our plan, for growing the show is we have kind of our core of people here and just people that I know that are inviting and popping in and coming whenever they can. But by every night, there's people that go online looking to watch the NBA games. And usually they just want people to chat with. The most popular channel, in researching this, it was really interesting to me. The most popular YouTube channel shows the NBA game with a scoreboard, like the ticker that updates, and just plays EDM music. and they get like 200 to 500 people a night watching this thing. Why are they watching it? Well, the chat is usually pretty active on YouTube. And so that's really what we want to serve that audience. And instead of just being in the chat, because when you're just in that chat, honestly, you can't really have a conversation. You can't really go back and forth with anyone. You can't give a take like you can here. So, and not everybody, you know, wants that. Some people just want to watch the game and like be able to chime in the chat once in a while, but your message pretty much gets lost in there when there's that many people. For the people that want to actually build relationships and have a connection and have a regular group of guys that you watch the game with, obviously in person is a whole nother level. We're not trying to replace that, but if you don't have that available, that's what we're trying to serve and what we're trying to build here. And that's why we're centering around right now around the NBA game of the night, trying to pick up some of that audience to come join us here. All right, Matt, great to see you back again. If you missed Matt's introduction last night, he used to play at Gonzaga, so he brings a great perspective to things. What are you looking for in tonight's game?
Man, I thought Cam hit it on the head with some of his comments. The Bulls, I mean, they do need a one. You know, I think he's right in Lonzo Ball, regardless if it's him. Kobe White's been playing amazing this year. You know, he's starting to kind of become what they thought he was going to be. But yeah, they're just missing something. You know, I think Billy Donovan, I don't think the guys really love playing for him. But Vooch, it's funny you're talking about Vooch. He was on my team in Europe during the lockout. And he was an animal. He's one of the nicest humans on the planet, but God, he'd single-handedly win us games. He's incredible. But yeah, they do have a lot of pieces. I think DeMar's getting a little older. He can't really carry teams like he used to. I think having Lonzo would be great. Zach's been hurt, and he also just seems indifferent to being there. That's kind of why I think they're just, yeah, they may look okay on paper, but I think they're terrible. The Cavs are awesome though. I think one thing Cam didn't mention was Darius Garland being back as well. I'm a huge Darius Garland fan. I think having him and Donovan kind of figuring out what they can do, whether one's on the floor or not, I think they're tough. And then Evan Mobley's coming on strong. A lot of people don't seem to, I mean, with Evan Mobley and Darius Garland out, they were winning games. You know, they had George Niang in there just having 25 a game. They got Max Strus, who's also an unbelievable role player. He brought up Dean Wade. I thought a lot of the other role guys are a lot more impactful than Dean Wade, but Dean Wade's also playing really well. But Jared Allen's also, I mean, he's almost 20 and 10 a night at this point, you know, just getting literally just dump downs from Donovan. But I love the Cavs. I think the Cavs got a chance to make a run as long as they all stay healthy. But yeah, they got all the weapons, and honestly, Donovan Mitchell, I'm not a Donovan Mitchell fan whatsoever, but you can't argue with what he does. You know, he puts up numbers every night, and he's the more I watch him, the more impressed I am. But I vote Darius Garland's my guy, so I'd go that route. But yeah, I think the 9.5, it could be 20. We don't know. You know, you said it seemed a little big, Greg. NBA, especially with blowouts, I mean, these leads, they can turn from 10 to 30 real quick, you know, and then the teams just start putting in their terrible players. I think 9.5 is probably not, it could be tight for a little while, but I think Cavs run away with it.
Well, I guess we will see tonight. Give us for the audience that maybe doesn't know much about Darius Garland. Give us what's kind of the quick background on his rise.
Well, man, I'd have to go back and look. Wasn't he a top 5 pick in the draft? I think he was up there. But then he got maxed out that year. He got his max contract. I thought that was the best play the Cavs could have done. You know, keeping him around, regardless if they have Donovan Mitchell or not. They were kind of making a run before they traded for him. Having him, I think he's one of the best passers in the league. When he gets it going from basically anywhere on the floor, he can get it going. But I just think he facilitates. He's truly a point guard who can score literally at will if he wants to. But he's been having some injury issues. I think he broke his nose or something happened with his eye. He's just kind of been in and out of the lineup. But I saw last game he started to kind of look like himself to get his first game back. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with him. I know having him and Donovan Mitchell in your backcourt, I mean, they're two legitimate all-stars, you know, and I think Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are also beasts. But Oh, we forgot
Yeah,
about
Garland
Karis.
was an all-star, right? A year or two ago. He was
Yeah,
before they
well,
got
that's right
Mitchell.
before he got his max deal. Yeah, right before he got his max deal that year without Donovan, he was the man. And they made the playoffs, with a average roster. But we
Yeah.
forgot about Karis LeVert. They got Karis LeVert coming off the bench, an automatic bucket. Yeah, they just got a great team. Now, the more I keep talking about it, the more I realize I like their team a lot.
Yeah, LeVert's a 6-man candidate.
Yeah, he's a beast. I mean, he just gets buckets. Every team needs a guy like him, and I'd say majority of the teams in the NBA don't have somebody at Karis LeVert's level that can just come in and get 20 any given night. Jamal Crawford type, or Malik Monk with the Kings type that just can come in and get buckets.
Yeah, love it. All right, let's go next to Rain. Rain, I know you were able to pop in last night, and then we'll hear from Moses. Rain, what are you looking for in tonight's game?
Well, just like Matt said, the Cavs are really, really loaded, and they come at you from so many different angles. And the Bulls are, like they're a paper squad. They look good on paper. The problem I think with the Bulls, they don't have no chemistry. They can't get together and all play and gel. And then like the guy said, you got to have a point guard. They don't have a true solid point guard to facilitate. So they struggle getting shots sometimes. And DeMar, he's just he's a mid-range guy, but I've never really seen him like really carry a team. So they're lacking. And Levine, he's played 25 games this year. So, and like Matt said, he probably don't even want to be there. So the Bulls, they're just out there, but they did, they start playing better. Didn't trade Drummond. Held on to some guys. So they feel like they can make a run in the playoffs. Then and right now they're in the 9 spot, I think, about 4 games from 6, and they're in the mix. So they probably feel like if they can get some chemistry, they can make a run with the talent they got. So, and the Cavs, like you said, the Cavs are loaded. Mitchell is playing some great ball. Mobley comes back tonight. I think a couple of the guys are out tonight. That Cameron was talking about, Wade and the other guy. I think 2 of them are hurt. But the Cavs are loaded. But how do you get easy shots in the playoffs is Cleveland problem. Everything is bombs away, or Mitchell trying to create a shot. They got to find a way to get easy shots in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that we'll see what they do in the playoffs, right? It's one thing to be winning in the regular season, but we'll see how this team does when it gets take it up a notch. Hey, before we go to Moses, I want to just give a shout out in the chat here to some of the people that are supporting us. It's good to see Sharon here. She's been on with us from New Orleans the last couple nights. It's Valentine's Day, so a couple people mentioned they actually have lives outside of sports tonight, and Ash Wednesday also for some people. But great to see you guys here. Someone else was asking about the Zoom link, so I just put that in the chat there. Eddie, who's been on with us before, is there in the chat as well. And if you want to join us up here on Zoom for today's game, that'd be great. All right, let's bring it home with Moses. What are you looking for in tonight's game with the Cavs and Bulls?
Well, with tonight's game, the 9.5 spread going towards the Cavaliers, I'm gonna have to go with that. The Cavaliers, they have one in Donovan Mitchell being the number 5 scoring leader offensively. You've got the tandem of him and Darius Garland. The Bulls, although they do look better on paper and they have a higher sense of veterancy compared to the Cavaliers team, like Rain said and mentioned, their chemistry is all off whack. I mean, DeMar DeRozan, he had a very good MVP caliber season last year, but it seemed there's been a slope. And Zach LaVine, he kind of seems like he doesn't want to be there in a sense. It just seems like the Cavaliers have the upper hand, not to mention the game they had on the 15th of January where the Cavaliers not stole the win, but got the win with 109-91. So, yeah, the Cavaliers today are definitely the favorite. I like to see them take it all the way.
Awesome. Yeah. Really interesting what you mentioned there about the chemistry. And we just tipped off here. So we're going to pull this up. I'm curious, where do you guys watch the games online? I'm going to go into Gamecast here, right, on ESPN. And I think this gives us live updates as we go here. If anybody here in Zoom or in the chat, yeah, there we go. Perfect. So this way we can have the game essentially on in front of us and continue our takes and discussions about the game and about all the topics in sports that we want to touch on. You know, today I got to hear today on the Pat McAfee show, they had the commissioner of the NBA, and he was talking about the move to live streaming. And that's something I'd love to get everyone's take on. Also, we have the NBA All-Star game coming up this weekend. We want to touch on that as well. But let's actually we're going to try this setup tonight where we have the game here with live stream on kind of center stage, and then us kind of having the conversation in the outskirts, and just see how this takes. And you know, we'll keep kind of one eye on the game and one eye on what we are talking about here today. But live streaming, I mean, it's a topic that I'd love to get everyone's take on here. You know, I was really annoyed when the NFL put that playoff game on Peacock, right? I'm like, I'm not signing up for nothing, even if it's free. You know, I went out to the sports bar to watch the game, but everything I heard was that ratings were high. Peacock got like millions of subscribers. Probably people sign up for the free trial and then forget, and then they're paying for that thing, and they still got to run all their commercials. So from their point of view, it's like win, win, win. I don't know that it's great for us, the fans, if everything's going to be moving to streaming and pay-per-view. But love to kind of get go around the horn and get takes on this. David, what do you feel about streaming and sports?
I mean, I think it's just the way of the world at this point. There's nothing we can do about it. They're making money off of it. They know that, you know, they can, NFL, NBA, at least those two leagues, they can, you know, sell us poop and put it on in the middle of the court or the middle of the field, and we'll pay for it. MLB, not so much. It seems like that's the least popular of the sports, but in my home, my wife and I, we stream everything. Cable it's just too, it was, you know, just a much cheaper option, or a lesser, a better economical option, I should say. But at this point, it's gone up. Now we're paying like $90, like a $10 difference, and we're still paying for the internet. So I like that the NBA switched to Max, because what I have with Fubo, they don't have the TNT. And we're already paying for the HBO Max, so now I can watch the TNT games. But I really just think it's the way of the world. So the Amazons, the Peacocks for the NFL, that's just, you know, it's gonna be what it is. But I did read not too long ago, a few weeks back, that ESPN is trying to do some sort of streaming thing where it's literally just the sports packages. So they'll come together with like the NBA and NFL. So people who don't want to pay for Hulu and HBO Max, whatever, they'll have just this one option so they can watch the NFL games and NBA games. So that is something that I'm interested in seeing. I think they said they're going to try to launch it in September, August this year. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, there's no avoiding it.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's no avoiding it. So you find Fubu is the best for sports and like pricing? Is that what you use?
Yeah, so what we do is, because the Astros and Rockets, it used to be the ANTT Sports Channel, now it's the Space City Home Network, but with the whole like Bally's and Warner Brothers, you know, going bankruptcy with their channels, that's unless we do cable, which again is an arm and a leg, you know, this is, I guess, slightly more economical. It's just, you know, it works because I don't really watch TV unless I'm watching a game. Like the Astros play 162 games. We probably watch 140 of them. Rockets play 80 games. I'll probably watch half of them. So that's the way we go. And then during the NFL season, they have the Red Zone, so I'll pay for the Red Zone network. And then with March Madness actually being here, I get like the Pac-12 network, the ACC, all those conferences. So I'll watch the conference tournaments leading up to the March Madness. Then I get to watch all the March Madness games at one time. So it's cool. I like it, but yeah, like I said, it's just the way of the world. There's no avoiding it.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Rain? What do you use for streaming or cable? And what do you think about all sports? If the Super Bowl is pay-per-view, is that where you think things are going? And
Yeah, pretty much. I've been streaming for a little while, a couple years. Um, it is what it is. It's what they're offering. During the Super Bowl, they asked Roger Goodell about streaming and about the playoff game on Peacock, and he basically was just saying like, "Hey, it's the time. Like everything is going to be tied to a streaming." I've been working with college students for years, so they've always given me streaming networks. So I've always been streaming for about a decade now. But like I have streaming in my house right now, so I don't have cable. I just pay for internet.
so
So.
what's your go-to streaming for sports? Like if you were recommending to me, hey, I want to watch NBA, NFL, what streaming should I get?
I'll order this thing called Eternal TV, and it gives me the whole NFL package. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Is that Black Hat or is that like a real thing?
it's real thing. Yeah, it's real thing.
Eternal
I like
package.
you said,
Okay,
like the
cool.
black hat. No, it's a real thing. No, it's a
Very
real
cool.
thing. It's a
What
monthly
about
subscription.
Amazon Prime? Do you have that? Do I get
I
stuff
have
free?
Amazon Prime, so I watched a couple of NFL games this year on Prime as well. So, I
Is
mean,
NBA on Prime?
no, NBA is not on Prime. Just football right now. I think soccer, but streaming is definitely the future. So we might as well just put our seatbelt on and just, go for the ride. Trust me.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Appreciate your take. Moses, what do you use for streaming and what do you think about the future of streaming? Is anybody, and especially if anybody wants to say this sucks and that's how I'm feeling about it. Like, because I still have cable, but I guess it only sucks if you're like double paying for both. But I'll tell you, here's the thing. I'm in my 50s and like I like to be able to just press the remote and turn on the TV. Like to me, to get into my streaming, like it's a little more steps for me, and so that's why I haven't really switched to it yet. But Moses, what do you have?
So currently, I use HBO Max, Netflix, and Paramount. I did use Peacock at one point to stream things like NFL, um, WWE. So the thing with streaming is it's slowly led up to this point with the introduction of Netflix and Hulu back in the early 2010s. Then when COVID came around and, college students, a lot of people traveling around or during lockdown, not wanting to pay these high prices for cable, were figuring out they could pay $9.99, $12.99, all these small amounts per month. And it's come to this point now where companies are realizing they can make a lot of revenue because they have the chance to get a hold of these type of audiences, like especially college students. When I was in college, I knew a lot of my classmates who used Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, all those things. No one had time to pay for cable, nor did the college allow you to install your own cable in there. So now that this age has come, sad to see cable go or cable start to die out because I'm going to miss looking at True TV, Nickelodeon, FX. FX is going to take the brunt of it because you've got things like Netflix, all these movie streaming companies basically shunning away the cable companies now. So, it's time. I actually like the move. It makes it easier to access things on the streaming for, I guess, us technological or for the more millennial side of people. So yeah, that's my take with the streaming services now.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they're a lot, more affordable. If you can get the right ones to get the right channels, it's a lot more affordable than cable. Cool. So yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the game here. We want to go around and take takes from people on what's happening in the game when they break for the quarter here. But let's continue with this conversation here. So Cameron, I'm going to ask you specifically about streaming. So if you're advising me, and really what I want to watch is ESPN, TNT, and NBA Network, right? Those are my three channels. What streaming service gives me those three channels at the best deal? You have any idea? Because I'm sure those are things.
Yeah, so
right?
I actually use a couple. I know Hulu offers live TV and live sports. I have Hulu as a streaming service, but only for movies. And to be honest, that's the only reason why I enjoy streaming services is just for movies. I absolutely hate it in the sports world because I live in a rural area, and I think it's unfair to people like that because you don't get the game at the highest quality. With cable, you can get at 1080 or 4K quality. But
You mean they give you
yeah,
local market games, or what makes it why is it worse quality where you live? I don't get that.
yeah, so it's using internet instead of actual satellite and cable in a rural area. When you're only pulling about 15 megabits per second, only so many devices can be connected on your modem at a time before your internet starts to bog down.
Oh, I
And
got you. So your Wi-Fi is the constraint then for the TV. Yeah.
So that's my problem with live, like an actual live sporting event, is it
Yeah.
seems like the internet has a tough time handling, especially with a lot of people in rural areas. But the advantage it has is it allows anyone to watch the game from anywhere, any place. You can pull it up on your phone, right? You can watch the game. But another streaming service that I use that offers ESPN, TNT is YouTube TV. It's just like cable TV, but you stream it. You can it records all the games for you, unlimited library, and that's actually the way I prefer to watch games. Is I'll record it or I'll let the game go on for about 30 minutes before I tune in because I absolutely hate ads, dude, especially at the end of the game. Like I just want to get back into action, so I'll skip right through the ads and I'll just enjoy the game whole and whole.
Interesting. Okay, so YouTube TV, because I looked at that. It's expensive though, right? It's like $80, $100 a month.
Yeah, it's 60, I think I pay $60 a month, and then you can add up to 5 different devices to it, so you can share it with family members or friends.
Yeah. And that lets you on YouTube. So basically, it's kind of like a built-in DVR. You can start the game late and fast forward the commercials.
And then the other thing, the NFL Pass, I subscribed to that 1 year, and I think that's ridiculous. It's so expensive, man. Paying like $300 for the whole season to get all out of market games. I think the NBA Pass is a really good deal. That's only $100. Or sometimes you can even buy the new 2K game, and it comes with an NBA Pass code for you, so you get a video game and NBA Pass at the price range of like $80 to $100. And NBA Pass offers all out of market games. You can download the app, you can select the game that's on or previously games. And then on also YouTube, just the regular YouTube channel, they air every game 24 hours later. So every single game that's been on in the history of baseball, NBA, NFL, it'll get uploaded.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. And one I need to consider too. You know, I kind of I used to be an NFL Red Zone fan, but now like NFL Network kind of has the same thing. So I feel like there's no, I don't know, I don't even get what you get with NFL Red Zone anymore.
Yeah. Red Zone shows the when they go into the to the red zone. So it shows all the games throughout the day. There's never any commercial breaks. They're always in action. That's what we do. So whenever we're done watching the local game, we'll watch the afternoon games on there, and there's always something going on. They're always keeping you up to date, keeping you highlights throughout the day. Like I
NFL
said, no
Network does the
commercials.
same thing pretty much. It does have commercials but it's pretty much the same thing, I think, on NFL Network now. Right? Or am I missing some of the
Yeah, so the NFL Red Zone. So you might be talking about because there was like the Xfinity NFL Red Zone thing. I never used that. That may be what you're referring to because the NFL Network has like the NFL Network channel and then like NFL Network presents Red Zone.
Yeah.
So it's only
On the
on
main,
Sundays.
no, all I have is the main NFL Network channel, and they now do a game day. It's just like Red Zone on that channel, but it does have commercials, but they show every score. I feel like on that channel on mine at least.
So yeah, so they show the score, but what they actually do with the red zone is they go live into the games. So they'll say, okay, the Cincinnati Bengals are playing the Browns, and they just made it into the red zone, so we're going to go into that game. Or if nobody's in the red zone, and the only game that's going on is a blowout of the Saints and the Falcons. So, well, it's the only game going on right now, so we're going to take you to the 49-0 Saints up on the Falcons.
I see. Okay. So they're actually in the games as opposed to NFL Network's kind of like these two guys talking about the
Yeah.
game, which is kind of what we'll be doing during football season. We can't obviously show the games like they can on NFL Network. We got a commercial on the game here. So before we get before we get the next take on streaming, let's hop over to the chat and just see if anyone is here and watching us and maybe needs the Zoom link. I think I didn't have the Zoom link working right, but yeah, it looks like we are live and broadcasting. All systems go. If everybody could be sure to like and subscribe to this. Yeah, let's continue to take some takes here. Matt, what do you use for TV or streaming?
I honestly buy the individual. I have Prime usually, but I buy the NBA League Pass. I'll get Red Zone. Yeah, I can't watch NFL now without doing it Red Zone, honestly. David.
Well, Prime. So what do you use Prime for? Because I have Prime and I want to make
Prime
sure.
because for Prime. I mean, ordering from Amazon, random things, just all
No,
the
but for watching sports,
Sports
what should I be watching on Prime?
Well, Prime, no, I just mean with Prime, I have like you can purchase League Pass through Prime. You can purchase,
Oh, okay.
and so like right now, the only annoying thing about League Pass is I can't watch the Nuggets, because I can't get any local games. They're always blacked out with League Pass, which is the only knock. But I love League Pass. I watch almost, like I said, multiple games every night. I actually just found out that HBO Max, you can now watch the TNT games if you have Max. So that's been great, not having to log into TNT and whatnot. And I mean, this is terrible, but I probably have like a random login of my sisters or something that if I want to log into ESPN or TNT or whatever, I'll just log in on that. But yeah, I usually do the specific packages, like NBA is my thing. So I have League Pass. I got the Red Zone package. It was like $18 a month or something on that. And I just watch it through there. Unless it's a big game, I'm not probably going to watch an entire NFL game unless it's one that I really care about. Ever since Red Zone, which is unfortunate, but it's hard to go away from that when all the commercial breaks, it's like you said, a blowout, it'll split screen sometimes, it'll go to 3 screens sometimes if 3 teams are in the red zone. It's hard for me to go against that. But yeah, I have League Pass through my Prime app or whatever it's called. That's usually how I watch my sports. And then I have ESPN as well for most college sports. But
yeah, once you get used to like having red zone and like that dopamine hit of score after score, especially if you have fantasy football players in every game, right? It's just like, oh, this is like heaven, having everything going at once. And
it's amazing. No,
I feel like every game either has a player on your team or a player against your team, especially if you have more than one team. I'm sure a lot of us do. Let's pop back over to the game here and just check in to see what is happening at the Bulls are off to a 10-point lead early on here. Anybody have what's happening?
What I'm seeing from the game so far is no defense is being played by Cleveland. If Chicago is going to shoot 75% from the 3-point line, about 60% from the field, they're going to get blown out. So they need to stiffen up on D. Because right now they're playing zero defense, and that was my main question going into this game was how the Cavaliers would play with their 2 bigs back in their lineup compared to 1.
Yeah, maybe they're better off with 1 based on what it looks like so far. I don't know, man. Maybe the Bulls are just on fire to start here.
Yeah. Kobe White came out really hot. Again, it's basketball, as you said yesterday, Greg, basketball's a game of runs. I'm like, this is Chicago came out firing, probably the same mentality from the Cavs, just like, hey, we're going to smack this team. But yeah, came in on head the D, but yeah, there's a game of runs. I think, yeah, they're going to have to figure out how to play with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen on the floor at the same time. because like you said, Evan Mobley really doesn't stretch the floor that well. But yeah, they'll figure it out. I'm not worried. I'd live bet it right now, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting division rivalry game. I'd love to kind of have us think back and if there's a game between Chicago and Cleveland that you can remember. Why don't we start with Moses? Anything come to mind between the Chicago and Cleveland rivalry?
Say it again.
This Chicago-Cleveland game we're watching is an interesting rivalry game. If you were to pick one game between Chicago and Cleveland, from the past, does any come to mind?
Not exactly. No. I'll say this. I'm a huge NFL guy. I need to get
I'm
more.
sorry, I have to chime in. You gotta know the commercial. Sometimes I dream that he is me, like Mike. I mean, when Mike shot over Craig Elo, I mean, that commercial has been on TV for years. Come on, Moses.
Yeah, and the LeBron versus D Rose, that was some entertaining TV too for a year. That was a good rivalry. I thought D Rose had a good shot at beating LeBron.
Rain
He
hit it
probably
on
had
the
a
head.
shot. I mean, nobody ever had a shot. But I mean, Chicago finished the number one seed that year, right? With
Well,
Rose.
yeah, I did see the LeBron James and the Derrick Rose games back then. Yeah, I did see those.
I guess
Yeah.
I'm just showing my age,
Oh,
Guess
Rain.
Learn me something,
I
man.
agree. I hear you, Rain. That was the first thing I thought of was shot on Elo. It's the first thing I thought
come
of.
on.
First thing I put in the chat. First thing I thought of.
Yeah, the Craig Elo shot from with Michael Jordan went over him, man. And at that point, the Bulls hadn't won any championships, if I remember right. Because I
Yeah, it's
remember
like the Bulls sold their soul for Michael Jordan to get those championships because they haven't done anything since.
thinking that Cleveland team was going to beat Jordan. They had Brad Dougherty and Larry Nance and Ron Harper in his prime. Like I was really surprised that I'm like Jordan's a one-man team. He'd never really gone that far.
Cleveland was a higher seed at the time so Mike gave him that shot in Cleveland. So, like I said, sometimes I dream, that's when but that was definitely right before the Bulls acquired Pippen and started making some runs. When Collins came in, he got fired. They brought in Field. That was right before that. Bulls have been eliminated a couple years, and then they started making those runs later on.
Yeah, it's so true. It's interesting you mentioned Pippen. He's one of I think the most interesting players. He's a top 50 player all time, and a lot of people will kind of talk shit on Jordan, like, oh, he had Pippen, and I look at it like Pippen was not even a D1 player. I think Pippen got great because he had to go against Jordan every day of practice, and that Jordan made Pippen great. Yeah, he had size and athleticism. Anybody else have a take on Scottie Pippen?
Well, he was the total package. He can put up some points. He'll lock you down on defense. He can guard multiple positions. He got long. He had length. He was a great role player. He can run the break with Mike. But he definitely shut down the best offensive player for every team. So he just checked all the boxes. And that's what made him Pippen. He was just ultra consistent. You already know what you're just going to get with Scottie. He was going to lock down a defender, fill a lane, block some shots, maybe hit a 3 or 2, take him to the rim, a nice dunk. He just checked all the boxes. And I guess, from an NBA player, not too many people check all the boxes.
Yeah. Who do you guys think in today's game would be most comparable to Scottie Pippen? Kind of that.
I think it's Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard. Hey, Cameron.
I think it's Kawhi Leonard, great two-way player, can bring a good offensive game, good length, can shut down the best player on defense. Kawhi Leonard, I mean, when Pippen had to lead the Bulls for those 2 years, they still went into playoffs and won over 50 games, and Kawhi Leonard did the same thing. He led the Spurs. He led the Raptors that one year to a championship. The thing, I just wish he'd stay healthy. And that's also going to be another very good game is after this one, it's going to be the Clippers and Warriors. I think Clippers are heavy. Like, they got to be some of the heavy favorites. That's a loaded roster, loaded squad versus the Warriors. I think they're figuring out their ball game right now, unlocking Kuminga. Chris Paul will be coming back in the lineup. So tune into that game, too, after this one. It'll be pretty good.
Yeah, it was funny. I was eyeing that game because it's on next on TNT, and I'm like, man, I wish that was the game for our show tonight. That'd be a lot more fun. Like, Curry's my favorite player to watch. I love rooting for the small guy, and this Clippers team fascinates me. I think they're going to implode with Harden and Westbrook, and I don't really see them going anywhere. And to be quiet, to me, I would put Leonard above Pippen, because Leonard led a team to a championship. Pippen was not able to do that without Jordan. And what do you think, Moses?
Defensive skill set than Scottie Pippen. We've seen Kawhi; he's a complete sniper from the 3-point line. So Pippen, I mean, of course, I wasn't alive to see those games, but just based off of looking back at the stats, looking at highlights, and looking at some of the old games, Pippen's 3-point shot was that better of Jordan's, but not compared to Kawhi's. And we know Kawhi could be a sniper. So, yeah.
Kawhi. It's going to be really interesting to see what he does this year with that team. In the history of the NBA, assembling teams like that, I can't think of a time that has really worked out. Does anybody have a team that would be similar to this, where you like bring in all these all-stars and it actually works out like that?
LeBron.
Yeah, I think LeBron's right? He created that super team. He made it work with Chris Bosh and D Wade. And you look recently at the Golden State Warriors, people figured if Kevin Durant could fit in with the 73-9 Golden State Warriors, I think that 17 team is one of the greatest teams ever assembled. I actually thought it was unfair. Like I said, what I enjoy about the league today is how competitive it is. When KD was on the Warriors, I mean, come on, everyone knew they were going to win the West, and LeBron just didn't have enough talent with him to take down the Warriors.
I would agree. Except I see that as very different than this assembly in the Clippers. Like, Golden State already had a championship team, and they added in Durant, right? That's different. This is like this is everybody's cast-offs. It's I don't know. To me, Harden
almost like the Lakers when they brought in Karl Malone. Remember the Lakers in the early 2000s?
Didn't work, though.
They brought in
lost.
Malone. They got swept by the Pistons.
Yeah, that's more what this reminds me of. That team that lost in the playoffs. I think you might be right about that. What do you think, Matt, about assembling these teams of all-stars like this?
I think it's the way the NBA is now. You need 2, maybe 3 all-stars on a team to make it. It's unfortunate that's how it is, but I mean, back to the Pippen Kawhi, it's like Pippen without Jordan, they never do anything. Kawhi, I mean, I guess that year they had a good team in Toronto. They had a couple. I mean, I think, was that Van Fleet's one of his earlier years, Siakam's an animal. I think today's game you need a couple all-stars, 2 at least, maybe 3 to have a chance, which is unfortunate, but that's the truth. George Karl here in Denver, he always tried. He's like, we're not going to have all-stars. We're going to do this. But like you said earlier, Greg, they win a lot of games during the season, but come playoffs, nobody has a chance. You need them. But yeah, that LeBron team had Kyrie. Kevin Love was playing pretty well, but I mean, they had 2, Hall of Famers on that roster. So you got to have a couple, sadly.
Yeah. What do you think, Rain? Cause going back, what do you think about some of these like compilations of all-star teams?
It's always been the chemistry, right? You look at the Celtics, they had one team with 7 Hall of Famers. The Lakers, they always had a big 3. I mean, I think nowadays it's gone a little more extreme because you got to think in the 80s they were probably 5, 6 deep. Teams wasn't as deep. The rosters this year, I mean, nowadays, 8, 9 people play. The Lakers in their heyday, they only played 6. So, it just, the players got a lot more skills nowadays. The floor is wide open, and it elevates people being all-stars because their scoring is up.
Yeah, I mean those teams in a way, those were super teams. Somehow, I find again, I think if they have a core and then you add that person to get you over the hump, to me, those are the kind of teams that win, not when you're really just assembling pieces. And the question is Kawhi and Paul George, was that the core? And now they've added in Harden and Westbrook.
You're 100% right. Like we say, it's the chemistry. Those Celtics team built the chemistry. The Lakers built chemistry. It's kind of hard to be the Lakers of 2000 when you bring in 4 different all-stars. They never caught the chemistry, and then when they got good, Karl Malone got hurt. So,
yeah. And you need somebody to do the dirty work. That's another thing with that Clippers team. To me, those guys mostly all want to score. I guess Westbrook, is a hustler.
100%.
I don't necessarily consider him a winner.
How? I'm a huge Westbrook guy. I think, I mean, there's just not a lot of people on the planet that give it like he gives it every night. And everybody seems to forget about the year when he was in Oklahoma City by himself. I mean, I was at the Nugget game where he hit that game winner. It
was a historic season.
Yeah, I mean,
well, so aside from his finals run with Durant, what's the furthest the Westbrook team's gone in the playoffs? Has he ever gotten out of the first round?
Not by himself.
Without Durant?
The first time he got out of the first round since Durant was when he was with the Rockets. He was with the Rockets the one season, the Orlando COVID season. We beat we took the Thunder. We went 7 with the Thunder, and then we lost to the Lakers in 5. But I'm not a Westbrook fan. I think he's talented. I think he's a hustler. I don't discredit any of that. I don't believe he is capable. I don't think the Clippers, I should say, I don't think they're going to be capable of winning in the playoffs. They'll probably win the first round game, but I don't think they'll be able to make it to the conference finals or to the finals themselves. Simply because one, you could take it to the bank. Paul George or Kawhi Leonard isn't going to be healthy. It just seems like that's always the thing. And then past, whoever's remaining with Paul George and Kawhi, I would imagine Kawhi is the one that's going to get hurt. After Harden and whoever remains, I just don't see them having enough firepower to take on a team like, if they play LeBron, I don't know how LeBron does it, but he will show that he's one of the top 2 greatest to ever play the game. So if they play them, I would take the Lakers. No matter how bad LeBron's teams ever look, he's able to drag their corpses all the way to the conference finals at the very minimum. I don't see them beating the Nuggets. At this point, the T-Wolves and Thunder look good. So if they play them, I don't see it happening. Maybe they beat the Suns if Kevin Durant gets hurt, but I truly don't see them advancing.
The West is loaded. You're so right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they can beat Sacramento or Golden State.
Yeah. Well, maybe Golden State, because they're old. They look like me out there at the YMCA.
The problem with the Clippers is the name on their jersey. I'm a Laker fan, so the little brother, they need to change their name to the Quakes or the Storms. Much rain they've been getting in LA lately. So, Clippers, they just, until they're able to get over the hump, they're going to be labeled like the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if they can get over the hump. And like David said, someone's going to wind up getting hurt. That's the bad thing. It's going to be George, it's going to be Kawhi, and it's going to be left up to Westbrook and Harden to carry the load. And they probably
Westbrook can't carry.
Yeah.
By the way, I hope I'm wrong. I hope nobody gets hurt. I don't want y'all to think I'm hoping somebody gets hurt. That's what I foresee.
You hit it on the injuries, though. Nobody, you could have the best team in the league. Your best player gets hurt. There goes those playoffs like that year when that Nets team with KD, Kyrie, James Harden, they were, I mean, how many games did they even play together that year? And they were balling. You know, that was the best I thought James Harden's looked in a long time. But yeah, injuries, yeah, you can't, you know, if LeBron goes down, Lakers don't make the playoffs. Like, it's like, you know, it's one of those, it sucks. It's part of sports, but you hit it on the head. You know, I'm just a big Westbrook guy. Look at that roster Westbrook had with Oklahoma City that year. Was Steven Adams his next best player? Like, come on. And they made a run. At least they made the play. I'm a huge Westbrook guy.
Yeah, I think they beat the
Westbrook's a lot of
Warriors that
fun.
year too in the regular season.
Westbrook's a monster. You know, he's definitely a leader. You know, you can definitely learn from Westbrook with how hard he put it. He leave everything on the court every game, regardless if he's 0 for 10. He's still playing hard. You know, he's always been like that since a young guy at UCLA. Even in his high school days at Louisiana High School, he was just tough and tenacious. You know, just go, and he still play like that. You know, Clippers. Like I said, they changed that name on the front of that jersey. They might have a different look.
Go back to San Diego, maybe.
Problem with Westbrook is he is as much hustle as he plays with, he can sometimes be a crash dummy. It's like, okay, let's take the ball up court, let's set up a play, and he just wants to shoot up a three, and it's like, dude, you didn't have to do that. You know, the game's in control. You know, there's no reason, or he'll drive to the basket as hard as he can and fumble and bumble and get it stripped, and you know that's a fast break points down on the other end. Like I said, he's a hustler, no doubt, but he and his other problem is he's too emotional. He gets super high and he gets super low. So as much as people say he's a leader, sometimes I'm like, there's no way this dude can really be a leader, because sometimes it feels like he's quitting on the team.
Yeah, I can see that. How did he wind up
I
with the Clippers?
don't see Russell giving up like that. He ain't much of a quitter,
neither.
man. Like I said, he's the hardest working guy out there. For how many minutes of the NBA game, he's gonna give you 110. You got to remember, this guy also led the league in minutes, and he averaged a triple double. So that's not a sign of a person that quits. That's a sign of a person that plays from one whistle to the last.
I agree. I think he's a hustler. I'm not debating that, but I'll be frank. I haven't watched him as much since he's left the Rockets. But there were times it was like, dude's pouting in the corner because he didn't get the call, or because he bricked the ball and Harden didn't pass the ball. And you know, sometimes I agree with it, but it's, you know, you're shooting yourself and you're shooting your team in the foot. So I think that's more of what I meant, versus maybe not necessarily quitting on the team, but he will hurt the team absolutely.
Well, he's a gunner too. I mean, he's a gunner, right?
Crybaby, definitely a crybaby.
I think he's the guy going on your team, though. Like, I mean, like you just want him on your team. You know,
well, the Lakers didn't want him, right?
Yeah, and that's, I think LeBron is we don't even need to go down this path. I think
I'm surprised they went after him instead of Buddy Hield when they had the chance. The
Lakers needed shooters, and if you got Westbrook and LeBron on the court at the same time, that's the same type player, just on different levels. You know, streak shooter, someone that wants to dominate the ball, try to always get to the rim. So it wasn't enough space on the court for them too.
Well, LeBron must have known that, and he signed off on bringing him in.
You know.
Yeah,
LeBron's not a general manager. I tell you that. He better stick to playing.
I would.
You guys think LeBron calls the shots on personnel in LA?
Yes, I would.
Yeah. Everywhere he goes, he calls the shots pretty much.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No matter what, LeBron is just full stake on there whenever he touches a team.
Did you guys see the rumor that Golden State was trying to trade for LeBron at the trade deadline?
Yeah, they pitched him an offer and they both declined. Lakers and LeBron were interested. But could you imagine, though, LeBron and Steph on the same team? That would be pretty fun.
That'd break the league, man.
They need to team up. Otherwise, neither one of them's going anywhere in the playoffs.
It depends what they would have had to give up for LeBron, though.
If they're just throwing Chris Paul over there, give him.
Well, they should have gave us Chris Paul about 10 years ago when the NBA canceled the trade between Oklahoma City and the Lakers and said they didn't want Chris Paul to go to a big market team. Then they sent him to the Los Angeles Clippers, the next door neighbors.
So what's going to happen with LeBron's son coming into the NBA?
The Lakers.
I don't know if he's
trade some picks.
I don't know if he'll get drafted.
Yeah, he will. He's got James on the back of his jersey. He's in.
It might be somebody, who risks it all and says, LeBron wants to play with his son. Maybe we take him with, maybe not a top 5 pick, but hey, maybe we take him pick number 12 and see if LeBron comes as part of that. Try to get a year or two out of that. Who knows?
I
He
mean, the
wants
kid,
to play with his son.
yeah, he has to develop. His game is really, really vanilla right now. He has to
Yeah.
develop, but I know we all forget he just coming off a heart attack. So
Yeah.
he got to get his sea legs under him and everything together, and just feel confident enough to get out there and really go hard.
Well, the best way for him to develop would be to stay in college, right? But his dad's not going to want that.
He's undersized. I bet he leaves to a different school. Honestly, they're saying he might transfer. But yeah, he's undersized, and he's not what position does he play at 6'4"?
He went to USC, so so LeBron could go to his games, right? The LA games when he was home. That's my theory.
Yeah. I think he's undersized. I don't think he's a true any position. I think there's probably half of NCAA right now is probably on the same level as him in terms of just a 6'4" athletic player. They just don't have
just one of 200. He's
Exactly.
a 4-year player. He has to develop. He's not a one and done, even 2 and done. This guy, he has to develop. He's like a 3-4 year player, possibly even 5.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Rain. He has to develop. I mean, if you look at USC's roster right now, he's not the best player on their team. But yeah, I think he just needs to develop maybe more basketball IQ. And it's surprising his IQ isn't right up, with LeBron being your father and LeBron having one of the highest IQs I've ever seen on the court. His IQ is wicked high.
Yeah, but I mean, LeBron's going to want his son to come out this year so they can play together, right? He's not going to be waiting around another 3 or 4 years.
He already said about a month or so ago. Oh, go ahead.
How many years do you think LeBron has left?
Oh, he's going to play with his second son also. I think at this point he's wanting to play with his second son. What I was going to say is about a month or so ago, LeBron was complaining in the locker room that they need more help, and he was like, "Well, Bronny could probably play for us right now and be our starting point guard."
I know it's amazing. We
Yeah.
just have that on if your last name's James, he's got a chance. He's going to get on a roster at some point for that fact alone.
What year is his second son?
Senior or junior in high school?
He's like a junior in high school.
So that's at least 2 more years before he would.
And I think he's like 6'6", 6'7".
Yeah, 2 more years before he could even think about anything.
Yeah.
I don't think he doesn't look very good either, honestly. Personally, I mean he's good, but it's one of those that they just
He's
the way
more of a post player than Bronny. He's more of a post player, mid range. Bronny's a true guard. I think he's like a 3 or something, 4 possibly in high school, but he's more of a post player.
Yeah, 6'6" post player is not going to cut it in the NBA.
Exactly. I know. I agree.
Unless you're LeBron James' son.
Exactly, man.
Well, the Lakers will probably have like a 15th pick or so, right? Somewhere.
Yeah, the Lakers will have a roster.
They traded all their picks away to the Pelicans.
Oh, they don't even have their pick. So there's
no picks.
So there's no scenario where Bronny comes out this year and goes to the Lakers then.
Free agent.
Well, they're saying if he comes out, he'll be lucky to be an early second round pick is what I'm hearing. So second round for sure. So it's not. I think the Lakers have their second round picks. I'd have to double check. I do know their firsts are all gone. But a second round pick. I mean, you could trade for that if they need to.
He's probably a free agent to be, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers had a second round pick and Bronny was available. They wouldn't take that. They wouldn't take him. I wouldn't be surprised if they wouldn't do that. But he's definitely a free agent if he comes out this year.
Interesting.
No way he gets drafted. There's no way.
Well, I mean, only if it's a package deal, right? Is that collusion or is that allowed? Can LeBron say to Brooklyn, who has a top 10 pick, take my kid number 10 and I'll come play with them?
Mm-hmm. That's what Giannis was doing for his brother.
Yeah. I just looked it up. the Pelicans own the rights to the Lakers' first pick this year, but they can swap it out for the 2025 first pick. The Lakers do have their second pick though.
They do have their second round pick, so that's probably where they'd have to go with it then.
Ronnie's not on any draft boards. There's no, I mean, that would
Right.
be the biggest scam if he got drafted after this.
That's just a favor.
Averaging 4 points a game or whatever.
Right.
There is like, and at a 6'4" guard, that would be the biggest scam in the history. Like that is just not right.
At that moment, LeBron is definitely the general manager, and that's a favor.
Yeah. The only way you do that move is to get LeBron on your team.
To FM picks.
I just looked at two draft boards and he's nowhere near it. I mean, if you're a 7th guy off the bench at USC and there's just, it's.
What do y'all think about Doc Rivers in Milwaukee?
Excuse me?
I think the Bucks are doomed, man. I think Doc Rivers has a huge history of choking ever since he just choked the game the other night with the Bucks. After looking good, I thought I was fooled because they beat the Nuggets. They whooped the Nuggets the other night. But I think that Doc Rivers, he'll probably have a first round or second round collapse like he always does. I thought that was the downfall for the Bucks season was hiring Doc Rivers.
Well, it was a desperate move. I think I never seen a coach get hired like that in the middle of the year from outside the organization. Has that ever happened? Rain, can you remember that ever happening?
Probably in the 80s, 90s, Matt, Matt probably, seen it happen. I can't recall like that. He left television, the television set right to the coaching office, and then, there's rumors that he had been, kind of like advising them all year from behind the scenes. But I wouldn't count Milwaukee out. Once the playoffs is around, they got some dogs. The possessions, the game's going to slow up. You got Giannis, you got to stop Giannis, and then you got Dame time. They're going to be dangerous. Milwaukee and Boston. I mean, unless Cleveland step up and do something big, I just think those two are the class of the East. And I know I'm not a Doc fan. I'm not a huge Doc fan either. But Doc's going to find a way to get those guys ready for for a championship run. If they're one and done, I mean, Doc might be one and done.
I think it all depends on Middleton's health. If Middleton's healthy, I think they can go far. But if it's just Giannis, you put a wall up around Giannis, put a wall up around Dame because he's, I'm probably taller than Dame Lillard. I'm not, but what I was gonna say is probably the Lakers. When they hired Mike Brown, they fired him like 10 games into the season and brought in Mike D'Antoni in like 2012, 2013, something like that. That's the only time I can think of an outside of the organization hire.
Interesting, yeah. It's a rare move. I'm a Boston guy, right? So Doc won us our last championship, and I always loved him after that. But if I look at objectively what he's done since then, he's underachieved everywhere he's gone, right? I would love to see Embiid and the Sixers knock out Doc in Milwaukee. I think that would be a great series and drama.
Yeah, but I think Embiid is out for the season, right? So, that'll be tough for the Sixers to get there.
Yeah.
Oh, is Embiid's not coming back? Geez, I didn't even catch that yet.
He's
he's a walking injury too. He had his 2-3 year run right now, but Embiid has always been injured. As you all probably know, he's a walking injury. He had a couple good solid years, but once your wheels go flat, you're flat. He always get leg injuries and foot injuries, so it's a lot of wear and tear on Embiid. I mean, he might not never be the same.
He's incredible though. Man.
Oh, man, the most dominant big guy in the league. His footwork is impeccable in the post, got a mid-range, even can stretch and shoot the 3 ball. I mean, his handle was that of a guard. I mean, he has a solid game.
One of the biggest arguments me and my friends have is Embiid or Jokic. And it's a healthy Embiid, obviously, not just, I'm not saying he's going to get hurt. Just it's a tough argument. I mean,
their one-on-one matchups, Embiid has been pretty dominant in those matchups, and it's probably because of the strength. Get Jokic in foul trouble, put him on his hip. things like they probably change his game against Jokic and get a little more physical, especially the last game I seen. Yeah.
He's trying to, I mean, he's a scorer. Embiid's a scorer. Jokic doesn't care.
Absolutely.
I've never appreciated somebody's game quite like I've appreciated his since these last couple of years. He just doesn't care. I mean, he'll have 20, and 10 points. It's like he just doesn't. I've never seen anything like it. I'm a huge Euro player fan.
Yeah, I've been going back for the Euro guys since Marcelonis, and Drazen Petrovic. That was my guy, man.
Yes.
That guy could shoot the ball, man.
Drazen was
Drazen
amazing.
Petrovic. He was dangerous, and he was a monster, and he had swag. He was the whole package, he was nice. So
he was incredible. I know Kukoc. I mean, we're talking about all these guys.
Oh yeah, Tony for sure, the waiter, right?
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big fan. But I remember watching Luka play when he was 15 or 16. I was overseas at the time and being like, they were telling me about this kid, and you knew then at 16, you're like, this guy, different level. But we don't need to go down that path. But I think the Bucks I think they're going to be fine. I would hate to match up with them if I was any team, literally any team. Rain hit on the head. Playoff time, it's a little bit different. And I agree with was it Kim or David who said, having Middleton back would really help them. They could use one more weapon, just somebody that can do something. But I'd hate to play them. I think they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, I mean they'll if you look at the Eastern Conference standings, right? If they're in like the 2-3 seed, they'd have Cleveland in the second round. I don't know who they'd have in the first round. Not the rest of the East isn't that great after the top 3 or 4, right? I don't know if New York's legit.
I love New York. Miami. God, for whatever reason,
they were a playing team last year.
I know they're tough. I'm like, I don't know what Jimmy Bucket's just playoff. Jimmy is just
Jimmy G.
He's something else.
Did you guys notice? At the end of this half what lineup got Cleveland back in the game? There's the lineup that has been winning the games the last month of basketball or so. When they run one point guard and one true center and surround Mitchell or Garland with 3 shooters, the Cavs look good. They just ended that half on a 14-3 run with Mitchell at the point, surrounded him with 3 shooters and Allen running the center. And what's good about that lineup too is if you can have Allen, when you sub Allen out, you can bring Mobley right in. You can bring Mobley in at the 5. That's what I think the Cavs should experiment a little more with that lineup because it looks deadly on screen.
Yeah, that's a good insight. I was watching the score, wondering what was happening here. There's always a run in the NBA, though. You need the Cavs would.
Well, that's the thing about basketball. It's a game of runs. Even if a team goes down 20, I've always said game's not over, especially when it comes to basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going into halftime here. Let's shift gears and talk a little football.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, I got a Valentine's thing with my girlfriend. I apologize, everybody.
No problem. We certainly understand it's V-Day. Appreciate your insights again tonight.
I think she commented too in the Zoom or on the chat. I think I told her to watch. Check it out.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think I saw somebody.
Yeah, Maddie B. Yeah, just
commented for you. Well, tomorrow night's game is Milwaukee. We've been talking about them. It's Milwaukee and Memphis. It's an 8:30 tip on TNT. We'll still be live at 7 tomorrow. We're still going tonight. I'm just kind of figured this is a good place to check in. We're going to do some stuff tomorrow. I'm going to go through some of the Pat McAfee show topics and respond to some of those things tomorrow. So we have a broader range of topics. And also tomorrow I'm going to be bringing in the AI partner that I work with, best-selling author of the AI book will be here for our guest chat. Looks like is that Sharon's about to hop in. So Matt, if you got to run, totally understand. Look forward to seeing you again. Always appreciate your takes.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Thanks, brother.
You'll be my first pick if we ever all get together to play some hoops.
Maybe not anymore. My back is trash. Well, anyway, have a good night, guys.
All right.
Yeah. Adios, Matt.
All right. Hey, Sharon, glad you could jump on. Good to see you again. How was your Fat Tuesday yesterday? Do you celebrate that in Tampa?
Hey, I was trying to get the YouTube off because it was overriding its the two videos.
I saw you were in the chat on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to step in too soon because y'all were doing a great job. If we're talking football, I'm ready
You
about
jump
football
right
now.
on as soon as we're talking football. You
You
know,
wanna-
my philosophy with developing these shows is that,
Mhm.
you got to look to see what do your people want to talk about, and just go with it. And, I think we're all football fans here.
Yeah, I
Looking
got
ahead.
I went and got my Ash Wednesday done today.
Ah,
So
nice, nice. I
that's
see
what you're
that
seeing
there.
a big old mark on my head about. So
Yeah.
how y'all doing?
Well,
Y'all doing all
start
right?
us off football, Sharon. What would you say? I know the Saints are your team. What would you say is their key key player they need to bring in or make sure they resign? What's going to be the key for their season next year?
It's to be honest with you, they did so much change the last year. I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, the quarterback, they changed out like 3 or 4 times in every game. It was up in smoke a lot. And so I really don't know my team this year. And what's coming in with the coordinator coming in. I was really thinking they were going to try to switch out and get Drew in there to be the head coach or the offensive quarterback. I mean, the offensive coordinator, but we just found out. It just popped up on my phone a few seconds ago about 49ers. And but it's going to be interesting how that's going to work into the play because Louisiana plays conservative football. They still play in the pocket a lot. Drew kind of pulled it out from Bobby Abear from changing up the plans and the plays.
What makes you
But
think Drew Brees can coach? Has he ever coached
yeah,
at
he
any level?
coaches now his kids. Yeah, he coaches. He works
Oh,
at the school with the kids. So he's well done with that. And then of course he travels with walk-ons to make his presence with his connection with that. And I'm sure he's got other things that he's doing. But I know that yeah, he's trying to get his kids, to do that whole let's pass the ball down the lane and see where they go. Literally, I mean, we got probably less than probably 6 or 7 years of, and Balin, I
the
guess, will
great
be.
legendary players, it's not usual they become coaches. I don't know if
Mhm.
anybody can think of any off the top of their head, but it's usually like the backup quarterback or the Harbaugh, the scrappy quarterback, and it's funny, I did a short on this a little while ago. They once asked Michael Jordan why he never coached, and he was like, like at the end of the game, you just do it. You just score, you just win the game. He's like, I don't get these kids that need a play or like need coaching or motivation. You just do it. And I think that's the thing with a lot of star players is it's just like you just do it. They naturally just do it, so they can't coach it as well. Some people are good at coaching and some people are good at doing.
So do y'all think the AI technology is affecting the plays? Do you think they're implementing them into the plays?
Well, that's a good top. Let's table that for a moment, though. I want to get
Okay.
everybody's takes on the NFL, but I would like
Okay.
to come back to that. I'm always looking for ways to tie in AI to our conversation. We're going to go more into AI tomorrow. Will, I saw just popped in. Nice to get to meet you. Tell us where you're joining from and who your teams are, Will.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy bit of time, but I'm glad to be here. I am from Ohio, but I live in Charlotte. So I am a diehard Buckeye and a diehard Browns fan. I'll follow them through thick and thin. Basketball, I realized I had to follow and change it up a little bit. So I'm
Do you
starting to
follow
like it.
Ohio State basketball?
Not as much. Basketball, so college, I'm like, I find a team I like each year. I'm not a fair weather fan because I like the Browns, so you kind of got to avoid that. But I'm liking South Carolina this year. I think they are a really good team in college basketball,
For
and they're
men's
kind
hoops
of
or women's hoops?
men's
Men's hoops, because they're a
super
dominant
undervalued.
power. In women's, they're like #1 every year.
Yeah.
But that's interesting on the men's side. We'll table that for later. What do
And
you
then
think for the Browns? What's going on at your quarterback? You want what do you even want to have happen there?
so there's some rumors, man. I don't know. This is a tough one. I want to hear your guys' view. There's some rumors they might drop Chubb, save some money. They could save a lot of money if they drop Nick Chubb. And
Well,
I think they
is
got some
Deshaun
solid
is I
backups.
mean You guys can't cut Deshaun. You're stuck with him, right?
Yeah, I've already suffered my losses with him. I mean, he might be good. I don't know.
He's
I
not
need
better
to
than
see him
Baker
a little bit more.
Mayfield.
No. The Baker thing
That's
is weird. I don't know what happened. What do you think happened with that?
well, let's go around the horn here and here for that. Moses, what do you think?
Yeah.
What's your take? You have a take on the Cleveland situation?
So in terms of the Cleveland situation with Deshaun, I mean, yeah, you guys are stuck with them. And as a Steelers fan, man, I want to see you guys fit. Nice to meet you, Will. I'm a Steelers fan, though, man. You're a Browns. You know, we got a bit of a rivalry going on, man. So,
Toughest
I just
division
don't
in
like
football right
Michigan.
now.
right,
I
yeah.
do not like Michigan or the Bengals. I'm fine with the Steelers, man. You guys injured Chubb though. You guys are a little rough, but
Yeah, we haven't we haven't had
Hey,
a
football's a dangerous game.
2003. So I mean, I like what Mike Tomlin's doing. We just need some weapons, man. We need the receivers to stop putting Vaseline around their gloves and catch George Pickens specifically. We'll be good.
Pickens is a bad apple, man.
Yeah,
mhm.
man. I don't know why. It's like that man. He coats his gloves in Vaseline. He's dropping back.
Tomlin usually doesn't put up with that kind of crap, you know.
No, he doesn't.
You like Tomlin? Some Steelers fans
I
are
love
like Colin.
I
Colin
love him, man, because he stays true to his team, man. He's one of those head coaches that always has a productive season. There's something that the Steelers do that produce for the next season, that set up for the next season. Like right now, we're looking for the QB. We need a QB. Once we get the QB situation figured out, we're good. We got Calvin Austin, George Pickens, God help his soul. We got Jalen Warren, Najee Harris. You know, we've got some good
Yeah,
offensive.
the Steelers scouting department knows how to scout receivers. I'm always impressed with that wide receiver room and how stacked you guys are.
I don't even think it's scouting. I think it's coaching. I think they fix them up.
Some people
But we got rid
calling
of
for
Matt Canada.
his head?
That's number one right there. I hated his play call so much, man. We'll see what Arthur Smith does this season, though, man.
It won't
There's
be
some
much
people
different.
calling for
What?
Tomlin's head right now. I haven't heard that. Some
Wait,
people don't
who's
like
your OC
Tomlin.
now?
Arthur Smith.
The Falcons guy?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
We're gonna have to see.
He ruined that offense.
We're gonna
He
have
didn't
to
know
see.
how to use Kyle Pitts. It was frustrating for my
Or
fantasy
Bijan
team.
or Drake, right?
Look, we're gonna have to. That's why I'm saying we're gonna have to see. I mean, Arthur
Oh
Smith,
my
yeah, he has a very
gosh.
bad resume. And honestly, to be honest, I don't see that move. But I'm gonna trust Mike Tomlin and the back office. I'm gonna trust them this time. We'll see what
I'm
happens.
waiting for Najee Harris to have that breakout season. He's such a gifted player. He was a dominant player in high school football here in California, and then had a great season. Played great in Alabama. I'm just waiting for him to have that
Did you
breakout
go to
because I
school
know
with him?
he's one of the best running backs in the league.
Moses, who's the better running back in your mind?
Say it again.
Who's the better running back? I've
Okay.
heard people like Warren more than Najee.
I think Najee
I
sucks.
prefer Najee.
I think Najee absolutely sucks. His yards per carry for his career are like below 4.0. Like that's out of the league level of sucking. I think they only have Najee because he's a first round pick and they're trying to get something out of him. And you guys, Jalen Warren, I think is awesome.
I've heard both stories. They kind of used Warren a lot, didn't they?
Yeah, they're
Like,
not using Najee Harris as much. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's right with Matt Canada dialing up the plays. I don't think Najee Harris got as many touches as he should have. As a running back, you want to get about 20 to 30 touches a game. He just wasn't getting his hand on the balls. They weren't dialing up the right plays. Offensive line gets injured. You lose your tackles. You lose your center. That affects the game, and that affects your running back.
We didn't have Pat Fireman for a little bit too, and he wasn't really utilizing him as much. He needs to. So hopefully, Arthur Smith utilizes his tight end a lot more than Matt Canada did.
I heard you guys are looking at Tannehill.
Yep.
To me, you're bringing in Arthur Smith, you're bringing in Tannehill. Like, this is not going to get better.
I got to trust the back office, man. I'm kind of going crazy with all these offseason moves right now, man. These rumors.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
I like that. I like the Browns team too. You have a good pick. The Browns have a good looking future. They had a top defense last season. They can run the ball. I think it'd be ridiculous if they got rid of Chubb. If one thing about Chubb, he's proven to me is he's fought through both knee injuries. He's blown out his knee twice, once in college, already in the NFL. He's got a hard-working. He's one of the nicest dudes in the NFL. I think he'll bounce back fully, and the Browns will be back with that.
I would love to see the
attack.
Browns make it to Super Bowl. I would love it.
You
I
guys,
think Chubb's over the hill. He's pushing 30. His
Lions almost
teammates
did
are
it.
behind him.
so would you cut a guy for money? Like, do teams ever cut like a super? Can you think of a team that kind of cut a really, really good player for money?
And Tyreek Hill just got traded
Yeah.
a
That's
couple years
true.
back
Yeah.
because he wanted money.
It
Yeah,
happens every season. It happens every season in the NFL. It's a
Better to
business.
trade him. Yeah, Belichick would every year would cut somebody. You know,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, the other guys, Ford and Kareem Hunt, were productive. Like, I think Cleveland's O-line is good, and that's made
I
Chubb.
just don't want to lose the defense, man. They might have to cut some defender. They might have to do something with the defense.
All the
They
money's
got a lot
tied
of
up in
cap
the
space.
quarterback and Miles Garrett. They're getting like half the cap space right there.
Yeah.
A lot of cap space. They're ranked number 2 in the most cap space in the NFL. So Browns will
Really?
be okay. Yep.
Even with the Watson thing, they
Yep.
spent a lot of money on him. Okay, I was surprised. I didn't know that.
You guys are stuck with him.
We are. We're stuck.
Lord of mercy.
What? So, David, you're like bitter about Deshaun leaving, or like you should be glad he's gone? And you
No,
guys-
I'm happy with where we're at now. I think CJ Stroud in one season ends already the greatest quarterback in the history of the Texans. Knock on wood, hopefully he doesn't go through that sophomore slump. It just, man, like y'all, man, I hope y'all never have to go through what Houston sports went through these last few years. And it wasn't just, Deshaun Watson was a huge part of it, but it was mass exodus, all the players that we lost. We lost our George Springer, our Garrett Cole. We lost our James Harden. We traded Chris Paul and lost Russell Westbrook. Losing our J.J. Watt, losing our DeAndre Hopkins, losing, and then Deshaun Watson to top it off, 20 plus women accusing him of what he did. And I think that, I hate to say it, but it actually made it a little bit easier. But it still hurt because what happened was he wanted to handpick the GM, and there was a committee that chose the GM, and Deshaun Watson signed off on it. Omar Khan of the Steelers, actually. That was going to be the next GM of our franchise, but we had a guy, Jack Easterby, a preacher. We call him the Easter Bunny. He decided, nope, I want to hire my friend from New England. So we hired Nick Caserio, which has been fantastic for the franchise. The guy actually did, the Easter Bunny finally did something right. So we got Nick Caserio here, but once that happened, Deshaun Watson said, well, y'all didn't talk to me about it. And apparently they tried calling him and he was on vacation. And I guess the $1 million quarterback can't have his phone with him during vacation. So he threw a fit, and all the goodwill that he built up in Houston. There's people were marching there was Martin Luther King Day that year. People took that had the day off, were marching at Reliant Stadium, protesting. So that way they'd fire Nick Caserio and hire Omar Khan. So that way Deshaun Watson would be happy. And he had so much goodwill built up in this city for him to just throw it all away like that. And then to be a guy that, throughout his entire career, he's this humble, great young man he can do no wrong, which we all believed. And then one woman came out, 2 women came out, 4 women, 5, 6, and it just seemed like it would never stop. And you hear these sick things that he allegedly did. I can't stand him, and it sucks because I loved him. I bought my wife a Deshaun Watson jersey, and we'd watch the games, wear the jersey, and it's just this guy that was so great for the city. We thought was so great. His first paycheck after Hurricane Harvey, he gave it to some of the cafeteria ladies. Like, man, this guy's awesome. I want that guy leading my city. Coming back to beat the Buffalo Bills in the wild card game. I could go on and on and on and on for days, but yeah, I don't like Deshaun Watson.
So I want the timeline on this. So did things were starting to go bad before all the allegations came out, or did that trigger things to go bad or?
Yeah. So what happened was the 2020 season, the COVID season, we fired our coach in the middle of the season, and he was also our GM at the time. He was the guy who decided it was cool to trade DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of chips. So we had no coach, we had no GM. At the end of the season, he sat down with the owner, and the owner said, "Hey, we're gonna put together a committee. I want you to sign off on who we're gonna get as a GM, and we want you to be a part of getting our head coach." And at the time, they said he wanted Bieniemy and Salah, and Bieniemy, I heard nothing but horror stories about him, and then Salah obviously went to the Jets. So when we hired our GM, that's when Deshaun Watson said, "Yeah, screw this, I'm out. Y'all aren't gonna do what I want. I'm out of here." And like I said, a lot of fans were like, "Oh my God, why wouldn't y'all do what Deshaun wanted?" And like I said, I was one of them. But yeah, I can't wait to see the 30 for 30 for that one.
Yeah, that's interesting getting the insider's take on that. Yeah. So what do you think is going to be the key move off season for Houston then?
So there's two big things. John Grenard had double-digit sack season. I think it's huge to bring him back, but not necessarily break the bank for him. A lot of like the mainstream people say we need a wide receiver, we need offensive line. Our offensive line was banged up all season. Same with our receiver room. Maybe add somebody in the draft to the receiving room. But honestly, we need help in the secondary. One of our cornerbacks, Steve Nelson, he's probably going to walk. He's probably going to get paid somewhere else. Jimmy Ward was hurt all season long, so we're going to need somebody back there with Jalen Petrie. So that's the big thing that I see. Re-sign Jonathan Grenard and get some help in the secondary.
Yeah, I can see that. I would say if I'm looking around the league, the most important player to re-sign would be KC's Chris Jones. If they lose Jones, like he's the heart and soul of that D. What about you, Rain? Who's your team, and what do you think is their most important move to make this offseason?
I'm a Raider fan, but just to chime in on that Chris Jones comment, he might not make it this year. He might be out of there. They didn't want to pay him last year, because the first game of the season against the Lions, he sat out. They got handled up front against Detroit. So
I agree. I think they're going to come at him and say,
it's going to be tough to pay him. Patrick Mahomes is a billionaire, so it's kind of going to be like the Brady situation where it's not too many people you can pay. You also have Snead that's coming up to be a free agent. KC got some. They got to pay some people. They're running into an issue like the Legion of Boom did in Seattle after they won the Super Bowl. Everybody was a free agent, and people are going to start going places because they're going to get paid more. They already got one Super Bowl. That's how it is.
I think Jones is late 20s. He needs to cash in.
Oh yeah,
he's got his rings.
He's the highest paid. He's the highest paid D lineman in the NFL next year. I mean, he's actually maybe taking that number one spot from Aaron Donald, interior players. Aaron Donald's still Aaron Donald, but Chris Jones stops the run. Aaron Donald's never really been a great run stopper. He get a lot of sacks. Chris Jones is a two-way player, actually three. He gonna stop the run. He gonna pass rush from the inside and the outside, and he probably bats down like 20 balls a year. So he's the best D lineman in football in the interior. So he's going.
Maybe the Raiders will throw a big contract at him, right?
Yeah, I don't know if the Chiefs can pay him. Somebody else might be. My team is the Raiders, and hopefully we can just go take Snead from them in free agency and put Snead and Jones together, and we'll have a pretty solid secondary. The Raiders, I think we need a quarterback. A lot of people like the rookie. He's okay, but I don't think he's taking us to the next level.
No. I don't
I would
think
actually
anybody
take
wants
Fields
to.
from Chicago and make us a little more dangerous offensively because we have a great defense. We have a great defensive minded coaching staff. I tell you that, and you can see in the last 7 games of the season that was a defense that I haven't recognized in almost 30 years for the Raiders.
Yeah.
So if we can play defense like that, because at the end of the day, we all seen the Super Bowl. Even though Patrick led that last drive, defense wins championships. So
You
you
ever
got to have
complain about the
defense.
division you're in, Ray? I feel
Well,
like you guys are in a hard division, man. Like
well,
if you're in like the Cowboys division,
yeah.
you guys might be good.
Well, definitely a hard division when you're in the division with Patrick Mahomes. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, you would
And
you
like the
with
Chargers
GOAT.
are usually pretty solid. They're gonna be good. I feel like it's the tough division, man.
Yeah, it's very tough. You know, everybody's gunning for KC. Everybody thought they had a chance this year to really get after them. But as we see, the defense is powerful. They led them to the championship, and Mahomes is magical. And at the end of the day, no one inside can stick Kelsey 101, and KC, got back to the finish line.
Yeah,
Hey, cool
the
little.
Raiders are built to win now. They got a good D. They got Devontae Adams and Jacobs. If he's back, he might not be back.
Yeah, I don't know if Jacobs is going to come back. Like, to me, Jacobs is in the same position as Chris Jones without the Super Bowl. Chris Jones is, the Chiefs didn't want to pay him, so they franchise tagged him, right? So this year, it's like, what are you going to do? This guy actually almost single-handedly won the Super Bowl for you. You definitely have to, pay him, the max. If
Chris
you
Jones
can't
is saying
afford
at
the
the
max,
parade he wants to come back for this year and next.
Chris Jones,
Yeah,
well, he's going to have to be the highest paid D lineman.
I probably will be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the Chiefs can do that. Patrick Mahomes makes $1 billion. I mean, they're going to run into the same issue as the Patriots with Brady. Like, can't pay nobody else. At the end of the day, it's like we can't afford to pay anybody. They're going to have to get rid of Snead or McDuffie, and Chris Jones is a free agent. They're in tough this year.
I struggle.
Say so, Will, a cool fact about the NFC East. I know you try to think that division's weak, but what
They
a
were
really
weak
cool
originally.
fact about that, there's actually hasn't been the Cowboys, the Eagles, no team that from that division has won 2 years in a row, 19 years straight. There has
Yep.
not been a team from that division to repeat as division champs.
That's wild.
So this year it looked like the Eagles were going to do it. And they started 10-1, but they had a collapse, and the Cowboys took the division. So that's a cool little fact about the division. 19 years and counting, there hasn't been a repeat champs.
Yeah, they've gotten
Rain.
better. I
Just-
remember a few years ago, it was like the first time we were a team with a losing record, I think. But they've gotten better, man. The Eagles and Cowboys are like good now.
It's a good
Rain,
division.
y'all got pick number 13 in the draft. If y'all stay at 13, is there somebody specifically that you want for the Raiders?
Anybody can say quarterback, but I think we're going to need another. We need some help still up in the D line and probably a young linebacker. We need a young linebacker that can really thud. We haven't this year. Our middle linebacker, he definitely changed our defense. He was our captain, but he's about in his 8th year. So we're looking for somebody. We need a young linebacker that can lead us for the next 3-4 years. Defensively, if not a linebacker, we need a run stopper. We don't have any big girthy guys in the middle like Kansas City with Jones and I can't remember the kid's number 69. If you've seen the Super Bowl, he pushed Trent Williams down on his butt, and nobody does that to Trent. So you got to have some guys in the middle with some, with a little bit of weight on them. And the Raiders, we don't have a run stopper. So, get us a big run stopper and a linebacker. We need to clean that interior because we still.
Josh Allen's a free agent too for the Jaguars.
We need
He'll
some
get franchised.
interior play so we got to be able to stop the run. At the end of the day, a team might throw the ball 60, 70 times, but you got to stop the run. You get to the Super Bowl, you got to stop the run. To win the Super Bowl, you're going to be a team that's going to stop the run. So at the end of the day, the Raiders need to stop the run.
And what do you think the Raiders should do at quarterback?
I mean, you know, if we had the opportunity to get Russell Wilson for league minimum, veteran minimum, I mean, maybe I don't know. They like the rookie. I mean, you know, to me, he's a solid player. I like him, but I don't see him taking us over the top. So I would take Fields. I would try to find a way to get Fields from Chicago and team him up with the coordinator that he had before, where he understands the language, and match him in there. You know, you got Devontae Adams. You know, hopefully we still have Jacobs, and we'll have a solid offense around him. One thing he didn't have in Chicago was anything around him. You know, it was just him out there just running the ball 30 times, you know, running a bunch of screens. But if he was to come to Las Vegas, he'd have a top 5 receiver, top 5 running back, and, you know, the offensive coordinator who he worked with in the past, where, you know, it'd be some familiarity in plays and everything, where you won't have to learn a completely new system. You have some confidence going into the season.
Yeah, I could see that. Cameron, what do you think is going to be the biggest free agent move in the NFL this offseason?
Well, you guys already touched. I'm gonna go with something a little. I think it's gonna be Chris Jones, but I'm gonna touch on someone different. I think I'm curious to see if the Bengals, how much they'll throw at T. Higgins, because T. Higgins is clearly WR1 on any other team. If they keep him on the Bengals, that's just a couple deadly weapons for old Joe Shiesty to use, you know? So I'm curious to see where T. Higgins lands. And then same thing with the Jaguars linebacker. There's no reason why they shouldn't re-sign him.
Well, T.
Edge
Higgins,
rusher,
you know,
he finished.
I had
Oh, can
Higgins
you guys
on
hear
my
me?
fantasy team this year, and he was disappointing.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my headphones died again.
Well, you know,
Anyways,
Joe Burrow was hurt, so
I was saying that
didn't
the
have his job.
Jaguars got a young, promising squad. I think they should try to re-sign Josh Allen. The Chiefs too. The Chiefs, they don't got enough money to re-sign their players like Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed. You look at Sneed; he was one of the top corners in the league, paired with McDuffie, which they hit on that draft pick out of Washington. And then Jones, I think he was the main difference maker in that Super Bowl. Like I said, if you guys look at that overtime play, or in overtime, the Niners' last play, you see Ayuk is wide open. But the reason Purdy couldn't deliver him the ball is because Chris Jones was delivering too much. He was literally unblocked. That is just crazy. That has to be on the coaches or something, because you do not let Chris Jones do that line unblocked. You double team that guy. The fact that no one got their hands on him, man, that's just crazy.
Like that's
I'm curious to see where Jones and Higgins land.
That's mind blowing for them to know when to touch Chris Jones, and then the defensive coordinator gets fired. So I'm confused. Like, the offensive line coach should be fired. If anything, that's first line of defense, right? That's Secret Service to the quarterback.
Coordinator.
Their defense played good in the Super Bowl. I mean, at least, especially the first 2 quarters.
I mean, 3 points.
And you can even argue they were a top defense during the season, but you know, their Talua Halafunga went down. They got some injuries in their secondary. You know, started to spiral the other way. But I mean, the Niners have always known to have a tough defense. It seems like our defensive coordinators always get shipped off for a head coaching position, like Robert Saleh or D'Amico Ryans. So
yeah, I think that 49er issue was a little bit of finger pointing and some blaming, because I seen that Bosa had made a comment that they wasn't prepared for the zone read with Patrick Mahomes, and, you know, they wasn't prepared for that. They hadn't seen that play, that last play of the game. They hadn't seen that play at all. They hadn't practiced it or nothing. So, you know, they kind of probably threw Willis up under the bus, and, you know, him and Shanahan probably just, you know, made a decision to go a different way, because when you got players saying they wasn't prepared defensively in the Super Bowl for a couple plays that was crucial, you know, don't look good as a defensive coordinator, right?
No, it doesn't.
Shanahan
doesn't.
needs to go, man. That dude's lost 3 Super Bowls. 1 as an offensive coordinator, 2 as a head coach. He should have went instead of the defensive coordinator, man. In my opinion.
You know, and yeah, because he said he didn't even understand the overtime rules. It's like, wow,
that's the head coach's fault.
Yeah,
right. And then I hear
the Chiefs came out and said that They
Yeah.
weren't going to touch the ball. If there was going to be no team to touch the ball third, they would have went for 2.
And
you
and
know?
then for the Chiefs to talk about, they had talked about that situation in preseason about last drive of the Super Bowl, we have to score in overtime. It's like, I mean, it's a culture there, right, in Kansas City. And the 49ers are just, they just, they were just a bad luck away from, not winning the Super Bowl, and Wicks would still be the defensive coordinator, and nobody would have brought up the zone read. So, they just got a taste of bad luck right now, especially when they run against the Chiefs.
I got a question for you guys. Do y'all think, because when that cornerback went down, Kelsey went crazy. Like, was he the one that was kind of locking Kelsey down during the first half?
Dre Greenlaw. So
Yeah.
it was with him and Fred Warner taking turns. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The tight end started eating once Greenlaw went down, because now you only have Fred Warner. You're not going to you just can't put a safety to double team when you got Marcus Valdez Scantling, Rashid Rice. They can blow the top off. So I mean,
way too many weapons.
Yeah.
Injuries are make or break, man. Like, you can either get behind them or like they ruin the team, Like,
yeah,
I
it
remember
was tough for the 49ers to get that injury from Greenlaw, because
100%.
he would have definitely been that guy to try to lock down Kelsey in the second half. So,
Like, I don't know if you guys watched the Ohio State Michigan game. When that Michigan dude got hurt, I was like, we're screwed. Because
lineman?
the whole team rallied around that guy.
Yeah.
And
blue,
like,
huh?
yeah.
That Michigan stack. Did you guys see? They're sending 18. They sent 18 players to the draft, or in the combine. Excuse me.
I mean, it's time for them to go. It's a new regime, right? It's some of the old guys, a new regime. It's just time for them to go.
I think Michigan's going to fall back to reality pretty quickly without.
I'm not worried about Michigan no more. I'm worried about Ryan Day.
I'm interested to see what scandal it is that they start getting knocked for, because jumping Jim Harbaugh is what they should call him. He jumped on over to San Diego, or Los Angeles. Get out of there before they could come get him.
Well, it was time. It was time, because you got to remember that the university is the one that opened up the investigation on him, and then gave the information to the NCAA. So he felt like the walls is closing in where he was, and some of the people were probably going against him. So it was the perfect time for him to leave. Plus, with a national championship.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, the walls is closing in. They're a little edgy. Everybody's a little edgy. I mean, come on, the Patriots been edgy forever. As soon as all their assistants left, they start talking. Oh, we recorded this, we recorded that. So everybody is a little edgy, trying to get an edge. Just who gets caught, right?
I'm with you guys. I think Shanahan should be fired. I think it was a cowardly move to blame Wilkes and scapegoat him, and
Super Bowls.
He blamed a guy?
Belichick sitting out there. I think they should. I think I've been saying they should bring in Belichick to get him over the hump.
Yeah.
Speaking of Wilkes, though, they've been having issues with him all year long. I think Wilkes is one of the most overrated coaches. When he was the coach when he got hired in Arizona, I thought he was in over his head. That's why you've seen over his last, 5-6 years, he's been bouncing around. He hasn't been anywhere very long. And when there was the whole uproar about him not being the coach of Carolina, I didn't see a problem with that. Now, I don't necessarily believe Frank Reich was the answer in Carolina, obviously, as we've seen. But I've never been impressed by Steve Wilkes, and we've seen it all year long. The issues that they've been having with him over there in San Fran. And as far as the O-line, what I ended up reading, and I forget the name of the coach, and the human element of it, because we never know what these guys are going through. I read that the offensive line coach, his wife passed away in the lead up to the Super Bowl. So they're thinking that maybe that they weren't nearly as prepared as they should have been just because of that.
Oh, that plays a big part too, the offensive line, right? Because you can't protect the quarterback. And as we've seen, the protection broke down in the Super Bowl, and that's what caused them to to lose eventually, right? So yeah, that could be a big.
Well, protection broke down because he didn't stick with the run. He was running fine in the first quarter, and just didn't stick with it.
Did you say
Yeah.
he blamed the guy, Greg?
Well, he fired him. To me, that's
got
indirectly blaming him for the Super Bowl by firing him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He hasn't come out and
It
said
kind of came off like that. If you seen the Shanahan interview yesterday with him and with Lynch, he seemed a little aggravated and upset at the media. Like he was defensive up there, and he was, he just was uncomfortable. Making smart remarks and stuff. He just didn't give the reporters a good, honest interview. He went in there a little upset. So.
I got you.
Yeah, I mean Lynch assembled that team. I think Shanahan gets credit for. To me, Shanahan, you give him it's the most all-star loaded roster, and he's underachieved with those guys, and they should have won a Super Bowl by now, and they haven't. And you got Belichick out there that could bring him in. It reminds me of the Tony Dungy. John Gruden situation, and they needed to bring in somebody to get him over the hump.
Yeah, it might just be time for some change. Shanahan got him there, but he can't get over that hump. And we'll see. I mean, the 49ers are favorite to win the Super Bowl next year. They're gonna still be tough. They got all the pieces in play. They still got some free agents to sign and some big contracts coming up. So both of the teams that was in the Super Bowl this year got a lot of questions and people to sign and to continue their dominance. But they got Purdy. We know they got Purdy for 3 years without a new contract. So I don't know if they were going to be able to keep Ayuk. So he seemed like he wants to be a receiver one somewhere.
Real quick, just to touch on the GM thing. So Shanahan actually handpicked John Lynch to be his GM when they were in the playoffs back in 2017, when he got hired to be from being the OC in Atlanta to being the head coach in San Fran. The Fox game was being broadcast, and John Lynch was in the booth, and he told him, said, "Hey, I want you to come with me to San Francisco and be my GM." So everything they do, they're right there every step of the way together. So I yes, it is John Lynch, the GM, but it's you can't have one without the other. So yes, John Lynch is the one with his name next to everything, but he wouldn't be there doing it if it weren't for Shanahan, handpicking him.
Well, it's a family that they go back. The Shanahans and the Lynches go back, right? Just like the McCaffreys, all the way to San Francisco, to Denver. So, why wouldn't you want Lynch to be your GM? I probably watched you while I was growing up when you were in Denver playing for my dad. So it's a good fit. It's just 49ers has had a case of bad luck in the Super Bowl, especially this year. I mean, the year before I blame Shanahan, but this year, that punt. That punt was tough, especially after you just stopped Kansas City on 3rd and 1, and then you're going to get the ball back, and they just had some bad luck in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, just like about 10 plays that could have went the Niners' way and didn't, right?
I look at Andy Reid too. He's got a super interesting story. The dude was close to winning it for a while, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the same boat as Shanahan right now.
Yeah, who did he coach? He was on the Eagles, right?
Yeah,
the
And he
Eagles.
was somewhere else, and he never could.
Well, he was an assistant coach. He was an assistant coach from the 49ers, the Packers. Him, Shanahan, they all come from the same family tree, the Walsh family tree. So they're all up under the 49er regime with Bill Walsh days. So,
Didn't Andy Reid also coach for the Cardinals some time ago?
No, I think it's just Green Bay. He was assistant up under Holmgren. And they all started with the 49ers in the Bill Walsh days with Holmgren, Shanahan, a bunch of them. West Coast offense. And all the big dogs are connected to the West Coast offense. So.
And the Redskins. The Redskins had a ton of people too.
So Andy Reid trivia question I heard today for you guys. When was Andy Reid's first Super Bowl win?
Green Bay,
That was
San
the
Francisco
It
49ers.
was the Niners.
as the head coach or
No, as
as
the
just a
assistant
coach,
coach.
period.
At
Assistant
any
coach.
level.
49ers, assistant coach.
49.
According
Yeah,
to
95 with the
answer I
Niners.
heard today was it was the Favre Green Bay.
Oh,
win.
yeah, he
wasn't-
might have didn't make 49ers, right? Because they he was with Mariucci before he
Yeah,
went.
he was with them, but yeah,
So
Mariucci
Green Bay
never won
with
a Super Bowl,
homegrown.
did he?
Yeah, Green Bay with homegrown.
The 49ers was 94, right? Was the last one they
Yeah,
won.
right. So yeah, he was the quarterback coach, and then he was the offensive line coach at Green Bay.
All
Yeah.
right, I'm watching these Cavs, you guys. What's their like? Are they good? I'm trying to figure them out. Like they
Yeah, they're
got
catching up.
Donovan Mitchell, they
They're on their
got Evan Mobley, who's good. They got Garland. Like I know these dudes, but like, what's their deal? Like, are they like a playoff team?
They're
Like,
number 2 in the
Yeah.
East.
are they really?
They'll be a playoff team. They play high
Right.
defensive
Celtics, man.
basketball.
Right underneath the Celtics. They're the second best for sure.
Like Garland and the Utah guy, Donovan Mitchell, are a solid combo. What do you
Kobe.
think, Greg? What's your view on them,
Make a
man?
deep run in the playoffs. I do. I don't think they'll go to the NBA Finals. I don't think
Okay.
they'll win the whole thing. If there's a surprise team to do it, the Cavs check all the boxes. They got a deep bench, really good high-level defense, can play down in the block and play up in the perimeter. But I expect them to make a deep run and have a good fought series against the Celtics or Bucks, but eventually lose that series. That is my prediction.
Are they using Donovan Mitchell right? Like, cause that dude was a baller.
He just won Player of the Month in January. You look up
Did he?
Players of the Month. Yep.
Okay.
And he had a
He's-
70-point.
My God.
He had a 70-point performance last year.
Yeah, I
Donovan
mean
Mitchell
they're definitely hot right now.
Five scoring leader right now.
They've moved up to the number 2
Mitchell
seed
reminds
in
me
the
a
East.
lot of a young Dwayne Wade. I see flashes of young D Wade in his game.
Okay.
Super quick, super athletic. He's just got a better perimeter game. He can spot up the three.
And they're
Okay,
young
Brandon,
too.
when you say they're going to make a deep run, I think you gotta. Yeah, that's where I would object to you. I think they can win one series and then they run into Boston or Milwaukee and they're done. They're not
When did
getting
they play
by.
the Knicks? Did they play the Knicks last year or the year before?
Last
They
year.
played them in
is
the
a
first round last year.
They should have beaten them. That's why I was like, are these guys like better this year?
Greg, I disagree though. I think if Middleton's healthy and Doc can figure out what he's got going on with Milwaukee, I think that they'll go to the conference finals. I think Boston's the team to beat this year, period, point blank across the NBA. As long as Jaylen Brown can go left in the playoffs, I think they'll be fine. But if Middleton's not healthy, I see Cleveland advancing to the conference finals.
Are you okay with them firing the coach, David? That was
Adrian
like,
Griffin, the
Yeah.
Milwaukee Bucks. No, I thought it was stupid. But what
Okay.
I did hear after the fact was that there was some drama going on behind the scenes. I don't know what exactly it was. They were saying he wasn't really getting along with his players.
Well, Lillard's always had drama everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
I'm hearing it was more like issues with Giannis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a bad hire. I mean, they had to get out from under it. They should have just brought in Doc right from the beginning. So, but I don't
Not
think
Doc,
Cleveland can beat Milwaukee or Boston, and that puts them right where the same place they were last year, basically.
What do they need, you think?
What do they need?
Yeah.
They need Cleveland or Boston to have an injury.
I
If
mean,
Porzingis goes down, Boston's very vulnerable. They don't really have another good big in there. And
My knack on Boston is it seems like they're always the favorite to win the East every year. They bring in a top highly rated defensive squad every single year. You guys lost Smart. They bring in Holiday. You bring in Porzingis to stretch the floor out. So I love the Celtics every year in the playoffs. They kind of remind me a little bit of the San Francisco 49ers. They should have an NBA Finals in their resume already. They've choked
They
the
do.
finals.
They went to the
or-
finals. They played Curry 2 years ago in the finals.
But they didn't win it. The Warriors and the Warriors weren't even favored to win the finals going into that playoffs.
Still won it.
You know, the Celtics were, and the Celtics made it, but Jason Tatum completely disappeared in the finals, and that's my knack on the Celtics is they disappear when it matters most. They did it last year against the Miami Heat, the 8th seed Miami Heat. That was a complete shock to see the Heat just upset. They took down the Bucks the first round, and they went ahead and backed up that noise by taking out the Celtics in Game 7. So
Moses, you're about to freak out, man. What you got? Moses is about to say something.
I was saying with Cam, I was piggybacking on Cameron talking about the 8th seed Heat upsetting that team, man. I'll say this about the Heat, man. We just need a point guard. Jimmy Butler, he needs help. I wish you would have got Dame Lillard, man. I was really depressed about that move.
Rozier's good. You guys just got Rozier.
We'll see. We'll see.
He's a young dude. Lowry was.
We'll see how he fits into the system.
Do you think
Hey,
that's
hey, Miami is always scary just based on, Jimmy buckets. He can just take control of a game and a series. So
right,
you never know about Miami. Plus, they got a good coach. Spoelstra got a
Riley culture.
You said Pat Riley culture?
Yeah,
they know how to win championships. Is established there in Miami.
Yeah,
they get them right.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, Udonis Haslem. People like to joke about Udonis Haslem, but that man right there, he's a great vet, a great teacher to have on the team. He's there for a reason. Or he was there for a reason.
Cavs just took the lead in our game of the night here.
Yeah. David, who's your underdog team, man?
My underdog team?
Yeah.
Man,
you have to make some noise.
I watched the West, and the West is so stacked right now. There's really no underdog team unless you count LeBron dragging the corpse of Anthony Davis to the conference finals.
I think an underdog team is the Clippers. I mean, as much as I just talk down about them, and
they're a top 3 team in the West. How can they be an underdog?
They're an underdog because of the name on their jerseys. They're still the Clippers, right?
Nobody's expecting the Clippers.
They are choke artists. They are
State Warriors, guys. They were just out of the playoff picture a couple of weeks ago. They're unlocking Kuminga. CP3 will be healthy. The bench is the bench is playing great. Hey, they won't be putting heavy minutes on CP3. He'll be running that second unit with Klay Thompson. Klay is finally buying into the role of he's not one of the top players on the team. Kuminga is starting to shine. I'll tell you what, the Warriors are starting to put it together right now, and I think they'll upset one of the top teams in the either the Thunder or the Timberwolves or even the Kings. Those teams do not have the playoff experience the Warriors have.
Right, the Thunder and the Timberwolves are just like the Kings from last year. I mean, hey, they were the top 3 seed in the West, but in the playoffs, it's a different ball game. And experienced teams that already got championships that know how to win the playoffs, they're going to be around. And that's why I say, the Clippers are number 3 seed, but I don't know if people are looking at that name on that jersey to win a championship.
Nobody's expecting
champion experience with Tyronn Lue running the helm and Kawhi Leonard. So
everybody
agree with you, Rain. I agree.
And
so I don't necessarily have an underdog team. I wouldn't call this an underdog team, but I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix, if they can stay healthy, if they advance with KD, Bradley Beal, Book. I like that they bolstered their court up with Eric Gordon. That man, when he's on fire. So I like the Suns if they can stay healthy, but like I said, that West is just absolutely stacked.
Yeah, I wouldn't
almost
look
a super
at the
team.
seedings and just because what number is on the seed, means the team is that good, because it's going to be super tough this year to beat the top 4 teams, right? Boston and Milwaukee, I feel like going to be the last 2 in the East. Everybody else is fighting just to be number 3. And in the West, we're gonna have Denver, and you could possibly have Phoenix, or the Clippers are probably the best teams in that division, but Minnesota and Oklahoma City is the top of the race. So
Yep.
Mhm.
And Luka and Kyrie are starting to dial it in together. You know,
Would you want, okay, I was wondering this, you guys. Would you want Luca on your team? I watched him. He
Yes.
shoots a
yeah.
lot.
Oh
He's
yeah.
a
The
he
Heat,
makes a lot too.
You
he
would want
comes to
him?
the Heat, we're winning for sure. Hands down.
Okay.
Hands
Hey,
I
down.
didn't know if
if he
people
wanted
thought
to
it.
come to the Lakers, I'm taking him.
Okay.
Who wouldn't take him?
Well, I don't know if you could build a team around him. Like, how many shots does he have right now, Greg?
They're
If
building
you,
the team around him right now. They just brought in PJ Washington at the deadline. I think that was a good move, adding more size down in the block.
yeah,
That rookie Lively, he catches all the lobs off their pick and roll action. He can rely on Kyrie to do any ISO story or any ISO scoring. He doesn't have to do it himself anymore. I like the Mavs. Watch out for them.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I think the
Lucas,
Mavs.
I mean, he's a world-class scorer.
Yeah,
You know, is he a leader? Does he make anyone else better?
that's what
Does he
I'm
play,
wondering, man.
does he play
Yeah,
defense?
Look what
and
he
the
did to the
Mavs.
Sun. Of course, he's a leader. Look what he
Yeah.
did to the Suns. I mean, he took down the heavy favorited Suns in the playoffs just a couple of years ago. D-Book talked all that trash.
I
They
think that was
smacked them. The
Brunson.
game was
Brunson
over by the
carried
I
second
think
him.
that was
quarter.
more the Suns
That was a
imploding.
funny
Yeah,
series, bro. That was
he
funny.
definitely did that. But you know, is he going to play enough defense in the playoffs? I
Mhm.
mean, when they beat the
You need him to
Suns,
die for the loose
Suns
balls.
the Suns. I don't know what happened to the Suns. That team right there, they was just looking themselves in the mirror or something. But you know, Luke is a great person that's going to fill up the stands. He's going to put up a triple double almost every night. But when you get to the playoffs,
Mhm.
and it's time to play some lockdown defense, and
That's what I'm
it's
saying,
possession
Greg.
by possession.
He's
I
taking
don't know
down
if he's that
teams.
person.
Taking down the Clippers by himself. He's proven to take. He's proven
He
to
don't have no
go deep in
champion.
the
He ain't been in the
playoffs.
championship yet, though. In the championship, I mean, you know, when you play against teams, the Clippers was they they're soft teams. They're not going to get up on him in defense. Kawhi wasn't out there, was he?
Hey, you guys forget how young Luka is too. Like,
Oh yeah,
he's really young doing that. Like, is he 24, 23? Right? The European
he's also
LeBron.
a big guy. He's also a big guy. He's not a little guy. So that wear and tear on his body of being a point guard, he's going to definitely have to show that he can dedicate himself to the
All right.
off
They're
season
different.
working out.
They're different. One of the best shooters ever, Carmelo Anthony. You know, like he's an example, you guys. He had a lot of points, but did he ever really win? You know, like is there a
As a
You're
similarity?
100%
scorer, Luka
correct.
gets his teammates involved.
Okay.
He'll pass the ball, and I think in his NBA career, Luka will come home he'll be an MVP. He'll get an NBA championship. I mean, the player the player they compare him to is Larry Bird, right? So I see a lot of
Really?
Larry Bird in his game. He's got a
That's
deadly fadeaway. He can get deep in his bag. I mean,
That's a big one right there, man.
that's a terrible assessment. What I see, and I was about to ask, I want to go by and ask every one of y'all. What I see is James Harden. Everything I see from him, the Euro, the step back, everything I see from his three's not as good, but every time I see him play, I'm like, that's just like James Harden, how he attacks the basket.
Tie game right now, guys.
What?
Tie game right now, Cleveland Cavs.
Yeah, we got
Oh,
seven.
yeah.
We got-
But keep
Cavs
going.
just took the lead.
But I think it's hilarious how people are like, oh, Luca. And I'm like, that's James Harden. That's just the European James Harden. And James Harden was, oh, he's a ball hog. Oh, he's selfish. Oh, he's this, he's that. And it's like, this man led the league in assists. How could he possibly be a ball hog? Things like that. So it's funny when every time I hear people talk about how great Luca is, I'm like, James Harden.
Nobody's saying James Harden's bad. It's just like, can you win with him? You know, that's the question.
Yeah, neither one of them play defense, Harden or Luca. Yeah, Luca is young. Maybe
Harden
he'll grow and get better. You know, I think he still has time to grow in there. But I mean, Bird had a championship by his second year in the league, so that's a whole nother world and of playing. So I don't think the NBA is an open at all. To me, like Boston, Denver, and maybe Milwaukee, they're like a long shot if Doc can get them playing better. But to me, it's Boston and Denver on a crash course to the playoffs. They're the only ones with real playoff experience. They're the only ones that play defense. Nobody in the West can really match up with Jokic. And to me, that's like they're the clear favorites right now to make the finals this year.
Phil Jackson has this rule, and we'll know here in the next couple weeks. It's called the 40-20 rule. So if the team can get to 40 wins before they get to 20 losses, they are a legitimate contender to win the championship. And right now, the only team that qualifies for that is the Celtics. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with like the Cavs, the Clippers, the T-Wolves, the Nuggets. But yeah, it's the 40-20 rule is what has never failed.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that. You've had quite a few interesting takes that I haven't heard before. Let me just make sure we're on mute here. Feel free to unmute yourself if you're want to talk, but we were just getting some background noise. We're coming up on the final run of this game here. It's turned out to be an exciting finish. It almost always is. Last night wasn't, but looks like we're going to have a fun finish to watch here. I've been keeping one eye on both of these. In case anybody needs to jump off, I want to set the stage for tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to open the show trying something new. I'm actually going to roll tape from some clips in the Pat McAfee show and then go around the horn and take everyone's takes on what he said. And so if you want to watch his show to kind of prep for that, I mean, it's a long show. I don't know if you can, you don't need to. I'm just giving you an outline of what we're doing. Then at 8 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to talk about AI and how we can use AI. And we're going to have a guest speaker talking about AI. I was very against AI. Like I didn't really want to be a part of starting the next Terminator until I really started to open my eyes to some of the opportunities in AI. And then at 8:30 tomorrow will be our game of the night. If everyone could have a take for this on Bucks and Grizzlies, and we'll be watching this tomorrow. At least until 10. We'll probably make it to halftime of that game. I go to bed shortly after 10. But let's go around the horn and just take kind of last takes on today and kind of what you liked best about today. Let's start with David in my top left. What are your takeaways from today and your last takes, David?
Yeah, for sure. No, y'all, some of y'all had some really interesting takes with the Bulls and Cavs. Kind of like Greg, where football season or basketball season doesn't really start to me until about the All-Star break, post Super Bowl. I do think that I definitely watched more this year with the in-season tournament, so I definitely got to see a little bit more. So this game, I for sure thought, just looking at the Cavs in the stands, knowing what the Cavs have, known the injuries the deals have been, the injuries that the Bulls have been dealing with, I thought for sure that the Cavs would run away with this one. So this has been a fun game to watch. I'm like watching on one side of the screen, but then you have like the sportscast on the other side, and yours is actually just a little bit ahead of mine. So I'm like, oh, they just scored, and then like 2 minutes later they score. So I thought tonight was a good night. I thought we did a great job of touching on all the different topics. I felt like the last few days is like, oh, Greg kind of like, okay, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And I think tonight's been probably the most engaging, which is awesome. And I think I'm excited to see that grow more and more the more that we do this.
Awesome. Yeah, great seeing you again. Always appreciate your insights. Let's go to Moses. What did you like best about tonight? And what's your last take?
So I like the talks we had about the underdog teams as well as the Cleveland and the Bulls game. Learning some stuff about the basketball things going on, because I have my head so dug into the NFL that I wait until just about now to start watching the NBA. So the takes with the streaming, I'm learning stuff from you guys, what you guys are thinking. It's pretty cool to pick each other's brain and get different topics of discussions on the different topics. So yeah, that's my good take right there with what we've learned and talked about today.
Cool. Glad to have you here. Appreciate your takes. Rain, what did you like best about tonight? And what's your final take?
Well, definitely, I love the way we interacted with each other, everybody giving out great input and pushing out good, pushing out quality information, talking about the basketball because it is basketball season now since we just ended the NFL. And before we go, I just want to say my heart is heavy for those fans in KC, that had to go through that horrific incident today while they were celebrating and enjoying their Super Bowl championship parade. So my heart is heavy for those guys and gals that had to endure that. But other than that, hey, and if it's the NBA, like I said, I enjoyed the way we discussed the NBA today, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Awesome. Yeah, let's all keep Kansas City in our prayers and in mind for they're trying to celebrate their victory, and to have shootings is just a real tragedy. All right, let's go to Cameron. What did you like best about tonight, and what was your last take?
I just enjoy getting everyone's insight on all the sports in particular. I find it very fascinating, learning your guys' knowledge about the game, whether it's football or basketball or any other sport. I like hearing about the personal lives and your guys' goals and the sports you played and how it's helped you become successful in business. Um, I enjoy listening to the history of the game as much as I like watching the present. I enjoy hearing all the knowledge from you guys, dating back to, the 90s of the NBA, early 2000s. And I like getting everyone's take, too, on what we're watching right now. Like I said, when I was watching this game, I was curious on what lineup Cleveland would use, especially at the end of the game. Looks like right here they put their two bigs back in, which that wasn't the lineup that got him back in the game, but that's the lineup they feel is comfortable to close out the game. Even with this line, I still will take Cleveland. They're 14-1 over the last 15 games, and that's the thing about the NBA too. We can put our topics on which teams we think are going to win, who our favorites are going to be, and the same thing applies with the NFL. Anything can happen, right? That's what. If we were so good at betting, we'd win all the time. But what happens all the time in these sports is you'll see the underdog come in and take out the top dog. It happens every year in the playoffs. It happens every night you turn on a game, and there's always one team out there that upsets someone. And that's what I enjoy about the sports. I enjoy the underdogs with the athletes, the teams, and all the stories within. So, yeah.
Yeah, any given Sunday, as the saying goes, but in the NBA, it's any given night. Hey, and I've been impressed with your knowledge of the history of the sport too. I would say that you're based on the stuff and have talked about, like you're a tough person to guess their age. I would put the under over at like 23, 24.
It's 25.
25, okay. Yeah, so I mean, my kids are 25 and like they don't really know much of what happened in the 90s, right? I mean, that's 20 what year are we in? That means yeah, the 90s was like before your time, let alone the 80s. So that's
The MJ era, man. It's hard to forget about that one, right?
Well, it's if you didn't live through something, it can be hard to experience it. Like myself, as much as I lived through Bird and Magic in the 80s and then Jordan in the 90s, and I would hear stories of Bill Russell growing up in Boston, but because I never saw him play, like I can't really appreciate it. So I just acknowledging and appreciating you know a lot about stuff that you didn't see or live through, which not a lot of people do. Will, are you still there? You want to give us a last take?
Oh, my
Great.
bad. I didn't know my video was off.
Yeah, what did you like best about tonight, and what's your final take?
Just like differing viewpoints, I think. I remember, made me think, I was looking today, the last Super Bowl I remember was the Rams and the Titans. When they played each other and that Dyson was on the 1 yard line. That was the last Super Bowl I remember. So that was the first one I ever really remember watching. But I was thinking of that today, and you're talking about the past. But the Cavs they look like a team, Sometimes you see a bunch of like ISO ball. but they really look like they're working as a team, and we'll see if it works out in the end. So that's what I'm getting from the Cavs. They're kind of team focused. It looks like they're not a bunch of ISO one dudes taking everything. But yeah, I loved everyone's different viewpoints and stuff. So that was cool to hear.
Yeah, and that would be kind of my final take too, is I want to compliment and commend everyone here. Like, we have had some great discussions, some great vibes. Nobody's like, telling anybody they're wrong, or judging anybody or shaming anybody. It's been a very open-minded discussion about sports. We don't all agree on things, which is a good thing and makes for, good conversation on things. And that's exactly the kind of vibe we're trying to build in this community. And so we're 3 days into the live show here, and we're just going to keep evolving and getting better. And I appreciate everyone's contribution so far. I'm excited to see how this game finishes here. I really haven't talked much about my Celtics at all, but I feel like they're just rolling through the NBA this year. I am nervous about Porzingis and his injury history. If he goes down, I don't think they can match up with Giannis or Jokic. But if he stays healthy, I think it's going to be Denver and Boston in a great finals here, and probably Tatum won't show up again, and Denver will wind up repeating. But let's watch the end of this game. And if anybody has any takes on this game in these last few minutes here, because it's looking like we're going to get a nice finish.
Was Porzingis like the big free agent move? Like, how'd they get him, man?
They had to trade Marcus Smart to get him.
Okay, I like those kinds of guys, like Marcus Smart, Pat Beverly.
Yeah. Oh, it broke my heart when they traded Marcus Smart. It broke my heart. But thank God they were able to pick up Drew Holiday.
Okay, Holiday's good.
And I think, he's better offensively than Smart. I love Smart. That's how I play. But he did shoot too much. Like, you got to know your spot on the team, and Smart he'd always be open at the end of the game. And I'm like, dude, there's a reason you're open, because you can't hit a big shot at the end of the game. And he needed to swing the ball to Tatum and Brown and not try to be a star. So he probably needed to go. As much as I like him. Do you guys play any hoops? Do you guys still play pickup hoops at all? Or my days are kind of coming to an end. I'm in my 50s now.
I mean, I just had a knee surgery, but before that, yeah, I try to get out to the court and hoop as much as I can. I played basketball growing up my whole life. It's real cool. We have a tribal gym where I live. They just opened it up, and it's free to the community. The gym is very nice. So and they run pickup games every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like I said, I'm recovering from a meniscus surgery right now because of basketball. It sucks. I had surgery on my ACL, MCL, and meniscus back in high school. I tore it in my very last game, and then I guess over the course of 5 years, the doctor told me there's a 25% fail rate. So I just woke up one morning, my foot was swollen, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna give it a couple days, see if it'll heal. And it got worse and worse, and I went to the doctor, and he told me, yeah, you retore your meniscus. It just happens sometimes. So I'm in the midst of recovering my knee right now, but I love being active. I actually work on a trail crew during the summer. I'm hiking all the time, getting heavy miles. I love getting in the gym. I love tossing the football around. I love tossing the baseball around. Anything athletic, anything competitive, I enjoy. I'm a competitive person. Even if I have to sit down and play video games, even if I make a little bet with someone, like I think the Cavs might win tonight. Just that competitive nature in me, in sports, pretty much. I enjoy watching it. I enjoy playing it, especially when I'm healthy.
Does anybody else here still play hoops or play pickup at all? No. It's funny. I had a small tear in my meniscus, and we were able to treat it with PRP. I didn't need surgery and physical therapy. Because I've always played basketball. In high school, I played basketball and football. I still referee high school and basketball and football to stay in
Yeah,
touch with the
reffing's
sports.
tough, isn't it? Huh? You always got half the gym that agrees with your call, and then the other half the gym absolutely hates what you just called.
Yeah. And winning cures everything, man. Winning cures everything. But
It
yeah, I
sure
really
does.
enjoy officiating. And but it's funny, when I tore my meniscus, I was that year I turned 50, and I was going to physical therapy 3 times a week to get back out to play in basketball. And my physical therapist, it was funny, he goes, let me get this straight. You have no pain when you walk, no pain when you run. The only time you have pain is when you jump. And you're coming here 3 times a week, spending all this money. Why don't you just stop playing basketball and not jump anymore? You're getting too old. And I looked at him and I was like, bro, you don't get it, man. When I'm out
Yeah.
there playing hoops, like that is the only hour, because I used to play at lunch for an hour a day. Like that is the only piece in my life and fun. And like it's the only time I'm not thinking about my teenage daughter and all that drama and my narcissistic girlfriend and my clients in my business that are complaining. Like for that 1 hour a day, I'm just it's my place. That's why I don't want to give it
Yeah,
up.
it's like therapy.
It was, but now I picked up tennis, so I'm trying to find a new sport because you can't play basketball forever. But it's funny. I played 2-on-2. I haven't played full court in a long time. And I play with these the maintenance guys in my building, actually, who are all 3 of them are like really good scorers. And they're all way better than me. But we play 2-on-2, and whichever one I play with wins almost every time, because I'll just set picks and rebound and like just feed the other guy. And I look at that as like a snapshot of what I see basketball is like. You need somebody that's not a shooter, right? That's to me why Harden and
Yeah.
Westbrook and that team's not going to work. Like you need a PJ Tucker. Like that's the guy that I've always been. And put one scorer with one hustle guy will always beat 2 scorers, in my opinion.
Yeah, drill we used to run in high school to try and get people to hustle more is they put a dollar bill on the basketball, or not a dollar bill, but like a $20 bill on the basketball, and say first one to get that ball right gets the money. And then they say if you do this in the basketball game, like a real live game, that'll be a $50 bill every hustle play we see you make. So,
Nice.
and
Hey,
that has to
money
do with
motivates.
coaching too. You get the
Yeah, we got
coaches
a
to get the
tie
players
game
to
with
hustle more.
a minute to go.
Kobe
Yeah,
White
I
for
can
the
work
Bulls
with
is
this team, man.
pretty
I
hot.
like Mobley a lot. Mobley's no joke.
Garland.
Mobley's got it figured out. You
Kobe
don't see a
Bryant.
lot of big men like him anymore. He's a solid big man.
Garland's too nice.
Mobley. I love Mobley. Can't leave wide
Kobe
open.
White with the 3 just
Been hot
tied
all,
it.
hot all game. You got to get a body on
Wow.
White.
This is on delay, huh? This scoreboard thing.
No, it's actually ahead of what I'm watching.
Game right now. That game looks good. 3 points down, minute and 3 left.
I think it's
Out of
safe to
front.
say that the Cavs aren't going to cover.
Wait, so which is my ESPN is
I
ahead of
agree.
my ESPN is ahead of what we're seeing on the screen here. Yours is behind the screen.
I'm at a minute 38, but I might be behind on. I'm watching on
Oh.
TV.
Yeah, you behind. Submitted in 3 on my scoreboard.
Yeah, there's 43 seconds left for me.
What?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah, it's
Bro,
43.8 on mine now. I had to keep refreshing mine until it was up to date. But I was interested to see the guys who were talking about cracking the code yesterday. I wanted to see what they would say about tonight's game. Hopefully we'll see them tomorrow.
I know, right? The gamblers.
Tonight would have been a good night to take the underdog.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You just never know. So sometimes
just happen.
people
They
just feel it. Sometimes others don't.
They just got a T for something.
I'm in a free chat and they told me the Magic were a lock. And I'm looking. Did the Magic win? Yeah,
We
Magic
watched the
won.
Magic last night. Did they play again tonight?
Yeah, they won.
They had a
One on a
back-to-back.
back-to-back.
Man,
Wow.
I thought that was a bad call.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Oslo
taking them.
dropped 36 on them.
I would not be taking
15
a
for
team on a
20.
back-to-back.
15 for 20. That's
They give Caruso a flagrant right there. That's crazy.
I think it was a dead
That's just
ball.
to me. That's two guys going for a ball.
You know the NBA is soft nowadays, bro. They call a foul for flicking
It was
somebody.
a dead ball foul, I think. That's why he shot one.
all right. Greg, we might have to talk about this next week, you guys, or tomorrow. Who is a quarterback from like 20, 30 years ago, back when you could actually hit the quarterback? Who's a dude who'd be so much better now? That the NFL is like so much softer. Who's a guy you think that could be so much better now with like the rule changes?
Joe Montana.
Dan Marino. Marino would light up every record on the face of the planet.
Dan Marino or Elway. John Elway had a cannon of an arm too.
Joe Montana as well.
Who do you have, David?
Yep.
Are you still here?
I'm sorry?
Who do you have? Or who did you say? You said
Marino.
Marino.
Marino by far. Yeah.
What about
I agree.
what about you, Ray? Could you do like a Michael Vick or like a Vince Young kind of person? Like trying to tackle that guy now, they were so fast.
The rules today wouldn't really affect them. It's more protecting them in the pocket.
Okay.
Right.
Who do you have, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, there's rules about what the corners can't hold as much, right? The game's a lot more favorable to passing these days, right? So anyone that was a pure passer would benefit from that, right? Which is why it's hard to compare stats from like Marino. I mean, yeah, Marino's probably comes to mind as like the best pure passer and arm of the 80s and 90s was Marino.
I mean, Peyton Manning was pretty damn good, but with these rules, he'd be top notch.
Well, the rules it changed because of Peyton Manning.
He's one of the
Manning got the rules changed.
Yeah.
It was the 03-04 AFC Championship game where the Patriots just dog walked the cornerbacks dog walked the receivers for the Colts, and so Dungy and Manning complained. So that's when they changed the rules about contact with the receivers. And then of course with Tom Brady when he got hit below the belt opening week, the 2008 season, they made it illegal to hit them in the legs and while they're in the pocket.
Okay.
We got Garland going to the line to ice the game.
Yeah, he should knock both these
seconds
down.
left.
Make it a 3-point game.
He's had a bad game, only 10 points, no free throws.
They're a team, man. I'm telling you, they're like anybody can score.
Garland's just coming off an injury too. I think this might be his first game back. He was injured as well in this Cavs run.
Yeah, he's been injured a lot in his career, right?
Yeah.
What was the big reason they lost to the Knicks? Like the biggest reason? Like quickly, because it's almost over. Because I feel like
Knicks are they have a good defense as well, and Cavs aren't really known for an offensive squad, so they can take away their shots.
No, Jalen Brunson is a badass. That's what, you know, I think
he went off last year.
Brunson and Randall is a good one too. The Cavs hadn't really had anybody that's as good as those two, I think. I'm a big Jalen Brunson fan. I love just winners, small guys that are winners.
Brunson.
Curry,
Villanova.
Brunson. Yeah, he
Won
was
2 championships at Villanova, I believe.
Yeah, he did in 3 years, 2 in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he still fell to the second round. That's like I don't know how Dallas.
When they won it, they said none of those dudes are going pro. Remember that? Like they did not think anyone from Villanova was gonna be that good, and like a ton of them like turned out really good.
Well, that was the first
still
year.
in the league.
the first title they won, the team wasn't as NBA pro, but by the second one, there was probably 4 or 5 guys that went to the NBA from
But
that.
none of them were any of them expected to be like what they were.
No, none of them were top 10 picks.
And they're all still playing. A lot of them are still playing.
Yeah, the guy, what's his name on Brooklyn, right? He's
Bridges, Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges.
Bridges is an all-star.
Curious, Cameron or whoever, what's the play that you would draw up right here if you were coaching the Bulls?
Might go for a quick 2 attack. Let me see who's on the floor. If they got both their bigs out, I'm gonna attack the
Oh, that's a
perimeter.
foul. Who's that on?
I'm gonna attack the perimeter with both their bigs on the floor.
Kobe White's been red hot. I would get the ball
Yeah.
White.
Kobe White is fast. He can get to the bucket quick.
Oof.
I remember
They just
him.
pushed the crap out of him.
He was either at Kentucky or UNC. I forget. And
It was
he
UNC.
Carolina.
He was at Carolina. Okay. I get him and Darren Fox confused sometimes. They both were like really, really good players in college. Really fast and just like solid.
Yeah, he is fast. I mean, he didn't really do much at North Carolina. He was a one and done. That was the year Zion was he was the same year as Zion's team at Duke that year.
Yeah, he was a McDonald All-American, so you know he was definitely on the watch list.
They had Barrett, Zion, and they had a third guy who was like
Cam
really good.
Reddish. Cam
Cam
Reddish. He's a great offensive player. It's too bad I haven't seen him really pan into the NBA player I thought he'd pan into. Remind me a lot of Paul George, but
Yeah. Yep. Those 3 were ballers.
I think Reddish, he played for the Knicks for a little bit too.
Him and
He went
Barrett.
to the Knicks.
He was
Reddish is with the Lakers now. Where's he at?
Last I checked, he was on the Blazers.
Blazers. All right, 7.7, 1 score. Cleveland with the ball. You foul, you try to steal.
You always go for the steal,
Steal
but
first. Yeah, you got to go for the steal first. And if you don't, then yeah.
Then send him
7
to the
seconds
free
left.
throw
You're
line.
gonna try to
Trying
go
to
for the
steal.
steal and risk it.
Send him to the free throw line.
you got to foul right away. Yeah.
You
Steal
got to
foul.
extend the game. You got to extend the game.
Yeah, I'm thinking they just go straight for the foul here.
Thinking
Yeah, try-
on the
you know,
entry pass,
Steal,
leave
try to
their
steal, trap in
wide
the corner, foul.
entry pass, you got to find out who's got the lowest free throw percentage too, and leave him a little bit open while you double guys like Mitchell and Garland, because you know they're going to go at the line and knock down both free throws.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they leave their 2 bigs on the court. That's what it says right now.
Yeah.
They're going to foul Donovan Mitchell. He's going to miss one.
Haha.
Allen shoot. Mobley struggles at the line. I know. Does Allen or
Oh my gosh, they had their first guy.
Yep, they gave it to Mitchell.
Right.
They
Go
should
ahead
have
of
fouled
me.
the other guy.
Have to refresh mine.
And there's a chance we might see a buzzer, a 3 to tie it up at the buzzer. If he knocks down both free throws, these are the kind of, I always root for finishes like this in the NBA, especially if
Yeah.
it's between 2 teams I really don't care about. I just root for a good game.
I don't know why
Who do you
college
think they're going to
should,
give it to for the buzzer beater? Cameron?
college should let you advance the ball on timeouts. Like, well, I don't know why they don't want to
Yeah, I
have
don't like that rule either.
these buzzer beaters at the end.
Greg, as a Curry fan, I live in Davidson actually, so I hear about him every day. Were you sold on him at Davidson? I know you like him now.
I mean,
I'll tell you
I
a
thought he
story.
was good. He should have got picked before those other guards that got picked before him, right?
Yeah,
Minnesota
I'll
took.
tell you a story when he was at Davidson.
Yeah.
It was one Saturday morning. I'm watching Davidson versus Duke, and I'm watching this kid go up against the mighty #1 Duke, and he is handling Duke by himself. I think he had about 40 points, and I was like, man, this kid is amazing. And I thought he was going to do a great in the NBA. I know he was undersized, but the way he could shoot the ball and how fast he could release that ball, and he's doing the same thing now in the NBA. And now he's one of the
I don't
greatest
know
of
why
all
people
time.
didn't
Yeah.
like him in the first place.
I
He's a
I
baller.
think when Curry's hot, I think that's one of the greatest shows in sports. Honestly, when that dude gets hot, it is crazy. From how deep he's pulling the shots, he gets the crowd into the game.
Yeah.
You know, he changed that range, you know, like now it's basically inside the gym. You know, he got inside the gym range, like true inside the gym range, right? Like soon couple steps past half court, it can go up.
He's got and he's made room for people like Trae Young to kind of come up. Trae Young is
Changed the game.
He's
completely
patterned his
changed the
game
game.
behind Steph.
Yeah.
You know, small guy, got to create his own shot. Sometimes they have to shoot a little further out so it wouldn't get blocked.
Yeah, I thought Steph would be a shooting guard who could put up 20 a night in the NBA. You know, I had no idea he would.
Cleveland wins.
Yeah. I knew he'd be in the NBA. I didn't think he would be who he is now, but the kid definitely can shoot the ball.
Oh.
Cleveland
I
was the
got
dub.
one last hot take for you guys. I've heard something. I think it was on Instagram. They said the Hornets are kind of going down the same path a little bit. They got two guards. They got Miller and Ball. I don't know. I don't know if those guys could be good. They said that they kind of are going down the same path because it took Curry and Clay some time, you know?
Where's Bluey?
It's kind of an interesting take. I don't know. You guys could sleep on that, though.
Yeah. I mean, Charlotte's
That was a tough shot. The deep top three. What do you guys think of that final possession? Could they have got
get
a better look?
shot than that. You need to run a play there.
Yeah. Charlotte doesn't run plays.
At least they got the ball to their best shooter. I mean,
and he was hot today. He had 32 points.
Yeah. You just got to get him a better look than that, design a better play than that.
Well, they definitely covered that 9.5.
3-0 for the season, man. Cavs against the Bulls right now.
Yeah, Mitchell is the hero. He iced the game. How far has Mitchell been in the playoffs? Did they go to Western Conference Finals?
You can never make it. You can never win with Gobert. They never really made it that far.
Never get
He
past
couldn't
the
get over
Rockets.
the hump.
Nah, the Nuggets, they had that. The Nuggets, they balled out. Him and Murray. I remember that.
They blew a 3-1 lead. I believe the Nuggets came back down 3-1. They came back twice too. They erased two 3-1 deficits.
Yep, and against the Clippers. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. So Mitchell's doesn't really have much playoff experience.
Ooh, I just looked at my phone. One of the top headlines: Celtics beat Nets by 50.
Aren't any good.
Yeah, I didn't even bother watching that tonight.
I do believe, though, if you look at Utah Jazz's a lot of their playoff scoring records, you would think to see Karl Malone and John Stockton in there. Mitchell's put his name in those headlines as well. He holds a lot of Jazz records, scoring records, like 40-point games. So he can score in the playoffs. As far as winning, not so much. But he balls out in the playoffs and gives you about 30, 40 points. He plays his best basketball in the season in the playoffs from what I've seen.
Yeah. I like Mitchell. I mean, he was a, late to mid first round pick, right? Those are the kind of guys I like.
Out of Louisville.
I cheer against the anointed ones. Like I'm a LeBron hater, what's the guy, the ball guy on Charlotte. Like I don't like the guys that are just supposedly born as the next stars. I never liked Peyton Manning. And I like these guys that kind of come from nowhere. They're just winners.
As a Cleveland fan, I don't like LeBron. We handled that situation so bad. He should have won 4 or 5 championships.
Not when you're playing against one of the 3 greatest teams of all time. I mean, there's nothing you could do against the Durant Warriors.
Yeah,
that
team was a cheat code. You got to give LeBron that break, and at least he was able, before they got KD, he was able to come past that deficit.
I'm talking before that time.
You're not going to beat the Spurs. I mean,
yeah. Like when they couldn't they just never gave LeBron help.
You
It
know,
was
when he played
so
against the
dumb.
Spurs, that might have been his greatest playoff run when he single-handedly just destroyed the Pistons. And the Pistons was known as a dominant defense, and
Mhm.
LeBron just destroyed them as a kid. So that
Yeah,
might have been one of his play. Even though he got swept by San Antonio,
that
he
was
shouldn't even been there.
he
Yeah,
got
that
With
was
the
in his
roster he
third.
took to
That
the
was his
finals.
third season. You
yeah.
know, he didn't even make the playoffs his first 2 years.
First two,
LeBron.
yeah.
Mm. You can't even name their second best player though. Like his whole time in Cleveland,
Probably
they
probably
had
is
Anderson
Kyrie.
Varejao.
Glasses or Verajo. I don't know.
Langston
No,
Hughes,
what was
maybe.
the guy? Boobie
Ah,
Gibson. Uh
We're
Gibson was I think he had Gibson and Mo Williams.
They got Shaq. They tried to help with Shaq a little bit. Shaq was the dude
Shaq
everybody.
was on the back end of his career at that
I
point.
know.
That
Yeah.
was horrible.
He
That
got
was all
DQ'd,
hype.
man.
Yeah, Mo
He
Williams
was
was
the
putting
last
up
good
20.
run. That was it.
He was putting up 20 a night back then, though. Mo Williams was decent.
Yeah, Mo Williams and Glasses was his running mates.
Hmm.
Greenish.
I don't think they gave him enough, man.
He never should have lost to Dallas, though. That was bad loss, man.
Yeah, that was
Choked that
horrible.
one away.
That's the loss that plagues him right now. Reason why he's not considered the GOAT,
Mhm.
because if he at least beat Dallas, he'd have what, 4 rings or something like that. It's a different story. But
They just had a bunch
there's
of
no
old
way
dudes
they were
who
supposed to
never.
lose to Dallas, like with the talent they had. But
They had a bunch of old dudes who never won. Like that's basically
Kidd,
what they did.
Merriam, they had some hard workers. They outworked them.
Exactly. Yup. Jason Kidd, I think, was on that
Yep.
Yeah,
Big
Sean
Nowitzki went on a
Merriam,
whole tear that playoff
Nowitzki was
run.
Oh yeah.
bonkers.
Jason Terry.
team. Hmm.
Yeah, they had some scrappers that was pretty good.
That might be. Remember, I asked for an example of a team like of assembled all stars that
Yeah.
went on to win one. That Mavs team. If anybody's trying to make the case for the Clippers this year, you might point to that Mavs team as like a good similar example.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question. What do you guys think happened with the Nets and that big hype train with KD, Harden, Kyrie missing like the whole season? What happened with that hype train that died so quick?
Kyrie didn't want to play, and James Harden said, I can't. I don't want to be in a place where people give less craps about it than I do."
Right.
So he said, "I'm
Yeah,
out."
the
I'll tell
chemistry
you, I
got
think
broke
all
up
three of
with
those
the
guys
team.
are pussies, and like Durant never won nothing till he went to Golden State.
Yeah.
Kyrie is like the worst teammate of all time, and Harden is just a gunner. It doesn't play defense. Like you put the three of them
100%,
on one
Greg.
team.
100%.
Harden is
I
all-star
couldn't have
break.
said it no
Also
better myself.
Harden, man.
So the thing with Harden is he doesn't play. So as in his time as a Rocket, again, I haven't seen too much of him since. But in his time as a Rocket during the regular season, he wouldn't play defense for the most part. But he would end up leading, being top 5 in the league in steals. But when the postseason came around, he would always play. We can get into it some other time, but I think him being labeled as like an all-time greatest choker, I think it's a lot of BS.
I don't agree with that either. I don't agree with
I
that.
think there's only twice where he choked, but other than that,
You have to be like good in order to choke.
The choke. Yeah,
Harden's not good.
I'm a Kevin Durant fan, but he definitely took the low road going to Golden State. And James Harden, he's I think he's in his best role this year with the Clippers as a facilitator, because if you watched him out of college and out of high school, he was a facilitator. When he went to Houston, the system allowed him to be more of a scorer because he had the ball in his hand. It was 4-around-1. It was spread out. They could shoot the 3-pointers. So that was more of a system that got him up to 30 points a game and things like that. But at his best, he's a facilitator, and that's what he's doing now with the Clippers.
He's always done his best as like you said, being being the point guard. When D'Antoni came, it like unlocked the cheat code.
Yeah,
it was just Harden has the ball. You got your shooters on the outside. You got your Clint Capella just eating the boards. It was it was so fun to watch.
in the D'Antoni system, Steve Nash won 2 MVPs, you know, as a point guard with the ball in his hands at all times. So it was a system that, you know, elevated his scoring and you know, and his image. But he's best as what he's doing right now with the Clippers. And that's why I keep saying the Clippers got a slight chance. I know they're playing well, but you know, they're just the Clippers. They're not known for winning. So, but they actually put together a good team this year, even though they got a bunch of stars. Westbrook is definitely now just a role player off the bench. But out the big three, James is the facilitator for Paul George and Kawhi. So they definitely
Like
got a chance.
Kawhi's out tonight on this game.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
what is he what they call it?
If I'm a betting man, I like the Warriors tonight. I think
Load
Curry goes off.
management.
Who they play against?
It just started against the Clippers.
Oh
They
yes,
were the
Kawhi's
Clippers.
out. Are they in LA or are they in Golden State?
It's at Golden State.
The spread is Golden State's favored by 3.5.
The year like Lou Williams and I think Pat Beverly,
Ball
they
movement.
almost
That's
beat
beautiful
the
ball
Warriors.
movement.
That was like my favorite team on the Clippers. They, I
you know,
think they took them to like 6 games, and they didn't have they didn't have Paul George or Leonard, and they
what is
took
it?
them to
What
like
is it?
6.
Low management tonight for Kawhi.
Yeah, it wants to be fresh for the All-Star game.
That's silly. Should be the opposite, right? But I think LeBron James is taking the last game off before he go to the All-Star.
Yeah.
You know, I guess that's like really a couple of days off when you go out there. You don't really practice. You basically just walk through, and the game is like what 50% scrimmage. You know, until the fourth quarter.
Oh, nice.
You know, so.
But so David, you're like defending Harden because I feel like he did Houston so wrong. You guys gave him everything he wanted. All his friends you would bring in every year. You'd try to build the team around him, and then he wanted out. Like I hate
He
that.
wanted out.
Doing that.
Yeah, I think he's the number 2. I think behind Olajuwon, I think he's the second greatest to ever put on a Rockets jersey. So yes, I absolutely am defending him. The way he went about getting out of Houston, you know, it sucked, but then Deshaun Watson really showed him how to get out of Houston. So I miss Harden. I was kind of hoping that he would come back. I understand what Udoka not wanting him, wanting to coach him in Houston, and I like what we're doing with our team. But no, I have no ill will towards James Harden, and I think he is deservedly, you know, one of the 75 greatest players to ever be in the league.
Yeah,
Is it because
it
of
was
the
time
beard?
for him to go.
He's got the beard, David, like you. He's got a little bit of a beard. That might
No,
be.
I need to shave. I tried
Like
tried
you
to grow
said,
out a beard
Greg,
one
he
time.
got all his
It
friends
looked good.
there. He couldn't win. He brought in Paul. He brought in Westbrook. You know, he probably felt like he shot his load and like, hey, where can we go from here? We're not going to win the championship. We had our best shot when we were beating Golden State, and Chris Paul got hurt. So, you know, it's time to go somewhere else and chase a ring.
The worst sporting experience of my life in the NBA is I was at the Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals that year.
Ooh.
Walking to
Oh, that
my
was
car,
awesome.
it was just silent.
I was hoping the Rockets would keep shooting threes. Was it like 27 missed in a row or something like
That's when
that?
Chris Paul got hurt, right? And let you guys down.
But that 27's misleading. I'm not a conspiracy theorist guy, but it may have been you, Cameron, talking about you know, the NBA, how, you know, with Tim Donaghy, how he was rigging the games. Well, Scott Foster was his best friend,
too.
and
Yeah.
so and he had dirt on him. Scott Foster, I'm sure y'all have heard, has a huge history with CP3 and the teams that the CP3 plays for. He called that Game 7. So those 27 straight missed free throws. There was I'm sorry, not free throws, the 3-pointers. There was a few threes that we would hit and foul on the floor. Nope, not a shot. Or we'd shoot a 3 and, you know, James Harden would get the clothesline from hell, and it's like, you know, there's nothing you could do about it. Yeah, that was the NBA Finals that year. So
You can rig basketball, man. Sports like football are hard to rig. Like
easy.
the
I mean,
refs can make a difference in basketball for sure.
Like seeing the star players get teed up so quick. It's like, why is Giannis getting 2 technicals in the first quarter. Like is it, and that changes the whole game plan. Now, like the Bucks, obviously you're gonna have the underdog come in and put up a fight now when you're getting these stars teed up so fast. So yeah, that's what bothers me. I think there's a couple corrupt officials in the league
Yeah.
right now, and I hope they get busted. Scott Foster is one of them.
Greg say he's an official. You know, I've been official, you know, for about 20 years as well. They can definitely control the tempo of the game.
Exactly.
They definitely can manipulate that over under how many free throws you shoot or how many free throws you don't shoot. So you know, Donahue them used to control that a lot with the over under, with the, you know, the fouls calling. They used to do their homework and see who's coming in, what games.
You guys should tune into a Lakers game, man. It's you can bet on the Lakers to shoot more free throws, and the disparity is huge. It's like a 20 free throw difference.
I'm not going to say some teams that get to the basket and show some aggression toward the hoop, the officials tend to make calls for them. When you're shooting a bunch of 3-pointers, you're not going to get too many whistles. If you're attacking the rim, Greg, you know, chime in. If you're attacking the rim, you can get a call. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they shoot more they shots in the paint, so they're attacking the rim, so they're going to get more calls. Golden State is not going to get no calls when they're shooting 33-pointers. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you can say I get that argument too, but when the Lakers run up a team against like the Raptors, who like to feed the ball inside too, and the Raptors only get 7 free throws in the whole game compared to the Lakers 38. Like, there's just something wrong there. It's not just the Warriors. I'm telling you, you turn on a Lakers game and you will see,
you know,
even if it gets another physical
Toronto
team.
game. I've seen the Toronto game, the infamous Toronto game. The Lakers are definitely attacking the rim. Toronto wasn't attacking the rim. They didn't get many free throws, but they shot more 3-pointers than they ever shot that game because they were intimidated getting inside because of Anthony Davis. So they changed their game up. So I understand the coach being upset with the Lakers getting a lot of calls, but like I said, you show some type of aggression going to the rim, you're going to get more calls than shooting jump shots.
I agree with you completely on that too.
I mean, that's any coach whose the fouls are off by is going to complain no matter what, right? Any fan is going to complain.
In all leagues, from
something to
leg
complain
to
about, no matter what the referee calls. I mean, you gotta unpack that. If you're trying to say that something's up, what are we saying? Are we saying that official has a personal vendetta with someone? Are we saying he's gambling? Are we saying the whole thing's fixed? Like, where are you know?
Well, I always felt like when Donahue came out, I mean, a lot of fans could look and say, like, yo, I could see that happening. I've seen some games where I thought the officials were too involved, or I've seen Foster give Chris Paul a tee for nothing. I've seen Rasheed Wallace teed up for just staring. Draymond just staring at the officials. Some of those calls they can keep, you know. Not taking up for Draymond because I think he's a clown, but you know, some of those calls are not, you know, they shouldn't be called, you know, and sometimes referees get a personal beef.
To me, you know, basketball is a very emotional game, and that includes referees, and
100%.
they can get sucked into it and have their ego, you know, they shouldn't. That if you rise that far up, you shouldn't have that. But you know what's interesting in high school basketball, we have to declare any schools we have any affiliation with. Like if your kid went there, if you went there, if you dated someone who went there. And the reason why is they actually find that you'll go harder against your like kid's school. Because most refs, most people are good people. But you get so caught up in like, I don't want to be perceived as favoring my kid's school that you actually call more against that team. So that's why they have you declare it all and don't have
and don't even assign you games.
Yeah. And you work for the county, and we only send you to each school once. So like if anything happened early in the year, you don't go back to that school. They rotate you through the whole county so that there's no like, oh, I'm mad at that coach because he yelled at me last game. Like they they're organized enough to rotate everybody through where you never see the same school twice in a season.
Go change your clothes.
You're
Um,
smart with that, man. That's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah, so the NBA these guys have full-time jobs. They're paid really good. They make like $3,000 a game. I just don't see any reason to be like betting. Like it's criminal, to be betting. So I don't think they're betting, right? I think that
The athletes do it too.
the athletes are betting.
Yeah, I mean, look at Calvin Ridley was betting on himself. That's why he got suspended from the NFL last year.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of
That receiver for LSU. He just came out. He had won a bunch of money betting on himself too. They're doing an investigation on him. Right, he's a top prospect in this coming NFL draft.
You talk about Keyshawn Booty?
Well, it's definitely getting worse. Betting's getting worse, but they're like betting on themselves. Like the referee is not betting on like themselves. Like they're
It's in the game. It's definitely in the game. You got collegiate athletes doing it too. I mean, stories.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, college is different too. Like college officials is a part-time job. There's not one D1 official or down that they don't make enough money to make a full-time job. You only make like 20 or 30 grand. Granted, the season's only 3 months, right? So it's good money, but like you can't live off that. So those guys, that and I don't watch those games close enough to know, but now they have that show, right? Bad Bet, where they show like every time something's like off at the end or something.
Scott Van Pelt, bad beats.
Scott Van Pelt, but yeah.
There's a lot of training, man, to be like a pro ref.
Yeah,
Is it tough to do?
Yeah, first of all, you have to be very physically gifted. Like you can't, like, as much as I've refed, like I would never be able to even go D1. Like you got to look the part. You got to be an athlete, right? And I'm just a regular 6-foot guy, like, so there's that part to it. And there's years of training and politics and all the stuff there is in any corporate thing. I just do it. I just love the game, right? I just do it at the high school level and enjoy the game. It's funny. I tried coaching one year when my kids were in school. My son was young and I got like so obsessed with it. These are like 5th graders and I'm like up all night putting together lineups and plays and they couldn't even dribble the ball. And I'm like, coaching, forget this. This is like referee. I just go and call the game. I don't have to bring anything home. My kids used to ask me who won. And I'd be like, white, because all I know is white and blue. I don't even like really remember whose game I just called.
Did you get any like pros or college guys? Any solid? Did you ref any pro? I don't know where you're from. Where are you from?
Well, I grew up in Boston originally. Now I live in Tampa for the last 22 years.
Okay.
That's a good question. I'd have to kind of think back through that. Tampa's more of a football county.
Are you near Mater Day?
What's that?
Are you near Mater Day? They're crazy in football, man.
Mater Day? No.
No, not Mater Day. What is that Florida team that it starts with an M?
I'm gonna go ahead and log off, spend some time with the missus. I'll catch y'all tomorrow.
Yeah, tell her happy Valentine's Day. We appreciate her letting you out. We're on kind of overtime here. We might need to wrap up soon too. I got to figure out when am I going to eat dinner if we're doing this from 7 to 10 every night, because I don't like to eat late at night, but I don't want to eat before this and be like
your stomach all night.
Yeah, if I eat before this though, then I feel like I'll be like groggy here. So I got to figure out when I'm going to eat. That's the schedule.
Yeah, have a good one. I'll catch you tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, David, you have yourself a good night, man. Dude.
Yeah, we should probably wrap it up. I appreciate everybody and look forward to many more good games with y'all. We'll continue this conversation again.
All right.
This Will, Greg, Rain, y'all have a good night.